It all kicks off in the year 2180, in a world where the demon race has completely taken over human territory. The world has totally collapsed, and in the midst of the utter destruction, Si Chen, the SSS-class lightning assassin, can barely stay on his feet. 7 years ago, the Demon King suddenly descended upon Earth to bring an end to everything. At that moment, Demon King Lenyu scoffs at him, finding it pathetic that humanity's so-called last hope is just a fragile piece of junk. Claiming it's time for the human to fulfill his one and only purpose, the creature prepares the final blow. A devastating red energy blast is fired right at him. The demon demands that Si Chen become its food and its power, but a powerful yellow electrical energy clashes directly with the red attack. Full of rage, the MC refuses to accept this end, thinking of his sister. The memory of his master and his closest friends, who all lost their lives, flashes before his eyes. Consumed by fury, he swears he will avenge everyone who was taken down by these beasts. Even if it's his last act, the assassin guarantees he'll drag this demon king straight to the underworld with him. So, he unleashes his ultimate ability, generating an insane explosion of lightning all around him. The creature is in total shock, having no idea what kind of crazy move this is. Our hero's body glows intensely, ready for the ultimate sacrifice. As the light takes over, the memories of his sister and his master begin to shatter like glass. He also remembers his parents, regretting everything that happened as his life fades away. The demon still calls him an inferior race, and our hero only wishes he had found the enemy's lair sooner. If only he could have stopped the very first demon king, he wouldn't have lost everything so tragically. But suddenly he wakes up, slowly opening his eyes in an unfamiliar place. Lying in a bed and covered in bandages, the boy just stares at the ceiling, completely confused. He bolts upright in bed, unable to believe he's still alive after that insane explosion. Looking around, he tries to figure out where he is and why it all seems so familiar. Walking over to the window, the MC stares at the view outside, still a bit dazed. Outside, the facade of the school infirmary is perfectly intact, with tons of students walking around calmly. He doesn't get where all these people came from, since the world was supposed to be completely destroyed. After splashing his face with water in the bathroom for a good while, he finally accepts the crazy thing that just happened. Somehow, inexplicably, the assassin has gone back 7 years into the past, right back to his college days. Just then, a strange notification sound dings out of nowhere right next to his ear. A holographic panel appears in front of him, announcing that the power of gluttony has been successfully integrated. Grabbing his phone, he confirms the date at May 28th, 2170, proving he's back before everything went south. Our hero realizes he has exactly a 7-year head start now. This means he's 3 years before the Demon King's true descent upon Earth. 3 years from now, the first of them, named Wrath, will descend right on Zigo City. It was precisely that wretched monster who opened the gates of the underworld, allowing the other demons to invade the human world. That event was ground zero for the total destruction of everything he loved in his past life. But now, the story is different, and he's back with his mind intact. The plan is simple: defeat Wrath first and stop those gates from ever being opened. Looking again at the integration complete panel, he tries to figure out how this so-called power of gluttony works. The holographic screen has been floating in front of him since the moment he woke up. When he touches it, an entire RPG-style attribute window pops up out of nowhere. He's surprised to see that his points for strength, speed, luck, and so on are all at level 100. The MC had never come across a bizarre interface like this in his previous life. Before, he fought using his lightning assassin power in a world where almost no one could awaken an ability. Unfortunately, back in college, he failed to awaken and was constantly humiliated and pushed around by everyone. From this, he figures that the beatdown he got from one of those jerks was the reason he ended up in the infirmary. Suddenly, the system window glitches out with a weird visual distortion. The panel changes and shows the lightning assassin class he used to have. Seeing his old ability there, our hero starts to feel a faint pulse of electrical energy coursing through his body. The system updates again, showing a hidden class, and he decides he needs to test this power right now. An electric aura covers his body as he concentrates. At that moment, the door opens and a boy with glasses walks into the room, jumping in surprise. His friend rushes over, asking if the MC's body is okay after the beating. Si Chen plays it cool, saying he's fine, and is relieved to notice the panel vanished and his friend can't see any of it. Looking closely, the kid with glasses is shocked that all the serious injuries from yesterday have vanished like magic. The MC remembers this guy very well. It's Malong, his old college roommate. As his friend inspects his healed arm, he recalls that this kind roommate died tragically on the 3rd day of the invasion. Seeing the boy alive in front of him, it finally sinks in that he really has gone back in time. Excited, his roommate reminds him that the ranking test is tomorrow and tells him to get ready pronto. Even without having awakened, the test is crucial for graduation, so his friend unceremoniously drags him out of there. The late afternoon sun paints the sky orange as students walk across the university campus. The two of them walk casually toward the main courtyard, watching the others play soccer. the assassin reflects that it's been a long time since he's seen so many living people gathered together. His buddy hears him mumbling something and asks what kind of spooky stuff he's talking about all of a sudden. Shrugging it off, the friend with glasses just suggests they take a walk around the field to clear their heads. But inside, all the MC can think about is how he lost the entire world before. He's fully aware that if he just stands around, the same miserable future will happen all over again. Filled with determination, he decides he needs to act immediately and level up as fast as possible. The only way to level up is by killing monsters in dungeons, but the problem is that the major clans monopolize everything, and outsiders don't stand a chance. Analyzing his points in the system, he tries to calculate his strength relative to the official chart that ranks hunters from S class down to E class. He has a good idea from his past experience, but is eager to see what rank he'll get in the official test. Glancing sideways at his scrawny friend, he laughs to himself, certain that he's already way stronger than him. Suddenly, a basketball comes flying out of nowhere and smacks the kid with glasses right in the face. The impact sends the poor guy dropping to the ground, groaning in pain from the blow to his head. Far off on the bleachers, a group of punks laughs as one of them calls out their names mockingly. Looking at the pair, the jerk comments sarcastically that they recovered pretty quickly from the last beating. Poor Malong cries on the ground, complaining about their rotten luck for running into these guys of all people. From the top of the stairs, the group of bullies just watches the scene with an air of superiority. Their leader continues to taunt them, reminding them that they can always take a good punch. Staring down from above, the big guy reinforces how much he enjoys testing the boys' endurance. Recognizing the aggressor instantly, Si Chen feels the bitter memories of the past bubble up in his mind. The torturous memory of being intentionally drowned comes rushing back with full force. Back then, these same guys shoved his head into a toilet without a shred of mercy. Maui Long desperately tried to beg them to stop and let his friend go. But the big guy just laughed at the situation, claiming he was just giving the MC a little helping hand. The bully justified the assault by saying the kid still hadn't awakened his powers, so he thought it was hilarious to give him some extra encouragement with a bit of violence to see if it would help. After getting tired of their sick game, the group of bullies simply left, leaving the two of them there. Back in the present, Malong grabs his friend's arm and whispers, asking if he's okay. Completely fed up, the roommate doesn't understand why these idiots never leave them alone. Musing, the MC concludes that pure malice doesn't just exist in demon dungeons. Hearing a mumble, the bully gets annoyed and decides to come down to mess with them some more. Now near the court, the aggressor demands to know why the boys didn't bring him cases of drinks. Trembling with fear, Malong immediately apologizes and promises to run and buy everything right away. However, Si Chen tells his friend to stop and announces loud and clear that the ones who should be apologizing are them. The big guy is shocked by the boy's unexpected audacity. Even Malong can't believe what his friend just said and tries to calm him down. Without wasting a second, the aggressor, named Gong Cheng, activates his green E-class warrior aura. The crowd around them gossips that he only picks on the weak because his brother, the student council president, is there to protect him. The students point at the scene, fully expecting the pair to get a nasty beatdown again. Gong Cheng scoffs at the situation, reminding them that the two losers just got out of the hospital. Getting in Si Chen's face, the bully angrily asks what he just said. Ignoring the threat, the MC just coldly repeats for them to never bother them again. The aggressor finds that absurd coming from such a weak guy. Losing his patience completely, Gong Cheng charges forward, yelling that the kid is asking for another thrashing. But the MC blocks the punch with just one hand, without breaking a sweat. The surrounding crowd is stunned to see the attack stopped so easily. The students are utterly confused, unable to understand how that was possible. After all, everyone there knows perfectly well that the bullied kid has never awakened any powers. Furious at being humiliated, Gong Cheng curses the MC and prepares to attack again. Seizing the opportunity, our hero decides this idiot will be the perfect guinea pig to test his skills. At that moment, the system confirms the class change back to Lightning Assassin. Seeing the electric aura emerge, Malong stammers in shock, wanting to know when his friend awakened. Cracking his knuckles, Si Chen lets the energy flow through his entire body. Gong Chen doesn't back down and invokes his indestructible demonic armor ability. Confident, the bully charges, promising to show him the taste of his deadly punch. In the blink of an eye, the MC dodges and lands a brutal electric blow right in the middle of the aggressor's face. The devastating impact sends the big guy flying, spinning through the air. The audience panics, unable to process the insane speed of that counterattack. Sprawled on the ground, Gong Cheng spits blood and accuses our hero of landing a sneaky cheap shot. Infuriated with his own crew, the bully screams, demanding to know if his friends are just going to stand there and watch. The henchmen hesitate, trembling in fear at the protagonist's overwhelming strength. A dark, menacing aura surrounds Si Chen as he glares at his enemies. Completely blinded by rage, Gong Cheng charges once more, swearing to finish the boy. He throws a heavy, power-loaded punch at his opponent, but the assassin blocks the impact with ease and tells the aggressor he's way too weak. Next, Si Chen fires a massive electric punch straight into the brute's stomach. The blow is so powerful it sends the bully flying through the air like a rag doll. The boy's body soars across the court and slams violently against the low wall of the bleachers. Defeated and covered in injuries, Gong Cheng finally collapses, unconscious, on the ground. A dead silence falls over the courtyard as everyone stares at the scene, speechless. Poor Ma Long is crying from sheer nerves, unable to understand when his roommate turned into such a monster. Looking at his own sparking hand, our hero processes the conclusions from what just happened. The first discovery is that he can activate the lightning assassin's state at any time. Furthermore, he realizes it works perfectly even though he's only at level 1 in the system. His base power is already more than enough to crush low-level awakened individuals without a problem. But he recognizes that he still has a tricky obstacle to solve in this situation. Staring at the holographic screen, he notices his attributes are still at 100, even after the victory. Holding Gong Cheng by the neck with a hand crackling with lightning, he reflects on the problem. The audience starts to panic, thinking our hero is going to finish the bully right then and there. The terrified aggressor tries to break free as the electrical energy burns him up close. Si Chen wonders if the only way to gain experience is still the same as it was in the past. Pondering, he tightens his grip on the boy's neck, making the sparks crackle louder. Suddenly, a female voice announces that they're in a school, and that the punishment has been sufficient. The person who appears is Ling Yu, the vice president of the student council, maintaining an authoritative posture. She guarantees with total confidence that the bully won't dare lay a finger on the boy again. Not paying much attention to her speech, the MC simply drops the big guy on the ground. He thinks to himself that he didn't plan on doing anything more to the piece of trash anyway. But he knows all too well that people like never stop bothering others unless they feel real fear. Far away, the henchmen flee in terror, swearing never to provoke the two boys again. It all starts with Ma Long and the MC leaving the court in a hurry. Right behind them, Ling Yu just watches the scene and decides it's time to go. Later that night, the men's dorm at the university is bustling with activity. Completely stunned, his friend with the glasses shouts, wanting to know why Si Chen hid the fact that he was a super strong assassin. Excited, the kid comments that the rival gang won't even dare to look their way after today's humiliation. Just then, their roommate Shang Zhou shows up, asking where the MC is hiding. Sitting at his computer, Shang Yu questions if it makes sense for such a strong guy to go for a run at night. His roommate continues, stating that the kid with the glasses really did get a nasty beating from those brutes. He points out that the four of them share that crummy room precisely because they have the worst grades in the entire year. Showing off his red magic, Shang Zhou brags about being the strongest one there because he's from the combat class. Thinking Si Chen is too weak, the mage comments that he's getting stronger and will soon join an exclusive club. Not paying him much mind, the other roommate reminds him that tomorrow is the final test and everything will become clear. Far away, energy burns brightly at the entrance of an E-class training dungeon. The student council president, Gong Ting, walks out covered in blood after an intense battle. Satisfied with the result, the leader informs his subordinates that the day's training is over. Staring at a figure in the shadows, Gong Ting asks why his brother is still waiting. All beaten up, Gong Chen complains that he won't be able to sleep if the president doesn't punish the insolent kid. Keeping his cool, the older brother simply replies that he understands the situation perfectly. With a cold demeanor, he guarantees that he will handle this little problem personally. A sharp knife slices through a nice piece of meat on a fancy dinner table. Eating calmly, the leader comments that his younger brother just lost a fair fight. Looking at the vice president, he questions if the kid is really as strong as everyone is saying. Ling Yu reminds him that fewer than 10 students in the entire school have reached D level. She emphasizes that other students don't have free access to demon dungeons like he does. The girl asserts that mediocre awakened ones will never be able to keep up with the president's insane pace. Meanwhile, Si Chen is running in the heavy rain, carrying 100 kilograms on his back for 20 kilometers. The assassin reflects that a person's power limit is directly linked to their natural physical endurance. Panting under the downpour, he admits to himself that this effort is still not enough. Painful memories from the year 2180 resurface, when Demon King Wrath annihilated humanity. Kneeling in the rubble, the MC mourns the tragic passing of his sister at the hands of the monstrous beast. It was precisely this cursed monster that opened the gates to the underworld for the full-scale invasion. Back in the present, the boy squints his eyes with pure determination under the storm. His main objective now is to annihilate this Demon King at any cost. With 3 years left until the catastrophe, he knows he needs to level up faster than the creature. Suddenly, a strong vibration comes from his jacket pocket, breaking the silence. Grabbing his phone in the middle of his run, He notices his younger sister is calling. Answering the call quickly, the boy says hello, holding back all his pent-up emotion. Saeyeon excitedly asks why he tried calling her so many times during the day. Laughing, the girl explains that her phone died during the tournament and that the prize money can save their rent. Hearing that voice on the phone, our hero remembers how much he prayed for a second chance. Hiding his profound relief, he replies gently that it was nothing important. He would accept falling into the worst of abysses just to hear his sister's voice again after so long. Not understanding a thing, the girl just says goodbye, telling him they'll see each other soon. Hanging up the phone, the assassin feels the weight that his journey has truly begun again today. Full of renewed energy, he starts running through the streets again to finish his last 3 laps. 8 hours after returning to the past, he decides he needs to gain maximum strength to protect his family. Taking a hot shower, the MC feels his young body slowly adapting to the tough routine. As he dries his hair, his mind focuses on the biggest challenge he currently faces to truly level up. Sitting in the darkness of his room, he thinks about how the major guilds monopolize all the dungeons. Without money or influence, it's very difficult to find a way to fight real monsters. Closing his eyes, he concentrates on the hidden gluttony ability the system notified him about earlier. A huge red screen loads out of nowhere and pulls him straight into the system itself. The boy plummets through the air, falling through a completely bizarre virtual space. Landing safely, he faces a desolate land with a gigantic tower in the background. Utterly lost, Si-chen tries to process how he ended up there in the middle of the night. He observes the dark structure in the distance, trying to unravel the great mystery of this place. Out of nowhere, a pack of E-level skeletal wolves appears, snarling in his direction. Realizing he's in the middle of a fight, he immediately activates his class change. The interface confirms lightning assassin mode, and he decides to clear the area quickly. Intense sparks explode from his body as he charges toward the ferocious beasts. With a lethal move, he lands a fatal blow, easily slicing the first wolf in half. A panel pops up instantly, confirming he has obtained experience points for the victory, destroying several enemies in the blink of an eye. The boy finds these fights way too simple. He takes down another target, absolutely certain that he's not trapped in a dream. The system glows brightly, announcing that he has instantly leveled up to level 2. Checking his status screen, our hero celebrates as he sees all his attributes increase by 5 points. It now dawns on him that he's gained a perfect private dungeon to hunt in alone, without any interference. But suddenly the giant pack leader appears, roaring loudly, ready to attack. Without showing any fear, the MC faces the giant beast, determined to test his limits on it. Dashing forward like a true thunderbolt, he strikes the adversary and instantly jumps to level 3. He notes with relief that defeating bosses yields much more power in a very short amount of time. Standing on the stained red earth, a new notification floats above the carcass of the slain monster. The boy's eyes widen as he reads the very strange message on the holographic panel. The floating window clearly states that the fallen creature can be devoured by the system. Staring at his own hand sparking with energy, he finally understands the true absurdity of his new ability. Looking at his own glowing hand, the MC wonders if this is the true meaning of the power of gluttony. The red energy from the defeated monster begins to swirl intensely in the air, being pulled to a single point. With that, he absorbs all of that sinister aura directly into the palm of his hand. The system displays an immediate notification confirming that the monster has been transformed into a class card. Holding the new holographic card, the boy realizes he can devour slain enemies and use their powers. Shocked, he processes the gravity of this absurd discovery. That glow in his hand leaves no doubt about what's happening here. The image of the feared demon king Lanyu comes to his mind with full force. The exact same overwhelming energy swirls in his memory. With this, our hero understands that he has literally stolen the main power of that monstrous creature. That overpowered ability was exclusive to the beast, but now it belongs solely to him. The rules of this world dictate that hunters are born with only one unchangeable class for the rest of their lives. But staring at the system panel, the assassin clearly sees that he has 2 active classes at the same time. His mind wanders, imagining the enormous number of beasts that exist out there. If he continues to devour these monsters, he'll end up mastering an infinite number of classes. A bit confused, Si-chen tries to understand why he was blessed with this kind of stolen power. Soon after, he turns his attention back to the gigantic dark tower in the background. Suddenly, an overwhelming spiritual pressure descends upon the boy, making his body feel heavy. A voice echoes from the red energy, announcing that it has been waiting for him for a very long time. An immense cloaked and armed creature appears in front of him, calling our hero by his name. The world classifies hunters and monsters from rank E up to the mighty rank S. Completely defenseless, the boy is thrown far away by a brutal attack from the beast. Panting, he remembers he almost perished to reach the top in his past life. Well, now he's no more than a D class. The problem is that the enemy facing him is an S rank boss, completely crushing his basic attributes. The MC can't understand what kind of crazy dungeon this is to house a max level monster right at the beginning. Even weirder is the fact that the creature knows his identity. The two begin an intense exchange of blows, and the monster announces that it has had dozens of chances to finish him right there. The demon attacks mercilessly, while the boy can barely defend himself from the overwhelming force. Even so, the beast notices that the human avoids lethal damage and just keeps knocking him to the ground repeatedly. Mocking the situation, the colossal creature asks if the boy still intends to fight against the inevitable. Bleeding heavily, the assassin deduces that the enemy's goal is to force his submission. The demon offers a unique chance for the boy to stay and protect that dark tower alongside it. But our hero swears to himself that he would never spend eternity trapped in that infernal hole. With iron determination, he gets up, summoning a torrent of electrical energy. The wounds on the MC's body etch, but he ignores the pain, focused on the fight. Annoyed, the beast warns that it was only so patient because the boy was the only one capable of entering that place. The creature points its lethal weapon, preparing its next move. Brutally increasing its strength and resistance, the monster decides to ask the question one last time. Making pebbles float with its aura, it tells the human to choose between staying or being crushed. With his eyes glowing with pure lightning, Si-Chen makes his final decision. He charges forward at an absurd speed, yelling that he chooses to take the scumbag down. The demon finds that audacity ridiculous and prepares a devastating attack. Using his maximum agility, the boy zigzags, dodging the deadly charges. He goes on the offensive, stating that he has already read all of the enemy's moves during the fight. Focused, our hero notices that the monster always takes 0.4 seconds to prepare the swing of its weapon. Taking advantage of this minimal opening, the boy observes the exact angle of the creature's wrist. With that, he predicts the perfect trajectory and dodges the giant blade by a hair's breadth. Furthermore, the assassin calculated that the monster suffers a delay of 0.2 seconds to recover from the blow. It is precisely in this small interval that the colossal beast is completely defenseless. Firing his lightning blade, our hero vows to pierce the enemy's heart instantly. The shock applies the paralysis status, granting a few precious seconds of advantage for the D-class. However, the demon breaks the effect too quickly, forcing the boy to use his swift movement technique to retreat. Even so, the MC is sure that this fraction of time is all he needs to escape. During the entire exchange, he kept his eyes fixed on the only source of light in that dark scenery. The boy stretches out his hand, about to reach what appears to be the exit portal. But as soon as he lands on the ground, the mysterious glow simply vanishes into thin air. Frustrated, he realizes that this place is not a real dungeon, and the exit was just an illusion. The creature reappears, laughing at the situation, finding it incredible how the human found its flaws so quickly. Revealing its true form as a 1-star S-rank warrior, the monster praises the boy as the bearer of hope. Staring at the enemy's new appearance, Si-Chen is in total shock. Accustomed to despair, our hero knows how to stay calm to find a way out, but that appearance is identical to the Demon King's. The shock paralyzes his body at this disturbing discovery. A violent memory of the great final war from his past life invades the boy's mind. At that time, the beast switched between various high-level combat forms with extreme ease. The cursed monster would turn into a giant dragon to crush human resistance. Immediately after, it would change to a devastating elemental form, spreading power everywhere. The creature also used nature manipulation abilities to trap the hunters, and even absolute light magic was used to annihilate any chance of victory. Focusing on these painful memories, the assassin recalls something very specific. Among the many bizarre transformations in that final battle, one of them stood out quite a bit. The boy concludes that the Demon King devoured this warrior using the same gluttony ability. Connecting the dots, the MC starts to formulate a crazy theory about his own situation. Observing the dark scenery in the giant tower, he realizes the absurd truth of where he is. Smiling, the monster confirms that the boy has a sharp mind and has proven worthy of inheriting everything there. Our hero is speechless, questioning the immensity of power that now hides within his own body. Looking at the floating key, the MC realizes that it's the item needed to open the gates of the demonic tower. The creature explains that Lanyu devoured countless ferocious monsters, and the strongest ones ended up sealed right there. The system confirms possession of the item, while the demon encourages the boy to devour them all to become stronger and stronger. Holding the artifact, Si-Chen is confused and tries to understand why this terrifying beast is helping him like this. At that, the monster reveals that the Demon Kings massacred its entire race out of pure greed. Burning in purple flames, the beast states that it has waited an eternity for revenge, and its great chance has finally appeared. The assassin immediately questions who the monster is talking about, since the creature calls him the only hope for success. Without giving clear answers, the giant beast says that all the secrets are hidden inside the tower and tells him to find out for himself. The creature's body begins to dissolve as it transfers its own power, demanding that the boy make the enemies pay. Completely in shock, our hero can barely process that he's receiving the strength of a max level being just like that. The beast roars, demanding that the human become unstoppable and open the gates to devour absolutely everything inside. It warns that the creatures inside are cruel and won't go easy, but the boy has to hold on no matter what. With an intense energy taking over, the voice echoes, telling Sichen to conquer everything and reach the absolute top of that world. The final mission is clear: he needs to evolve until he can devour every single one of the Demon Kings, leaving no one behind. As the dust settles over the Red Sea, the last words resonate, saying that only someone with an unshakable resolve could succeed. Silence takes over the isolated space, confirming that the MC has proven worthy of inheriting all that absurd power. The last purple spark of energy gently lands on the boy's hand, sealing the deal between them. An explosion of light envelops his body, and the system soon announces that he has jumped straight to level 10 instantly. With a focused and determined gaze, the assassin accepts the burden and promises to carry the will of that monster with him. The interface updates, showing that the absorption was completed successfully and generated a new, super powerful class card. Returning to reality, he swears that he will make all his enemies pay with their own blood. The next morning, the tranquility of the room is shattered by the excited shouts of his roommate with glasses, telling everyone to wake up. Sichen sits up in bed, a bit disoriented, trying to process everything that happened last night. Seeing his friend rushing everyone because of the uniform, he can hardly believe he's already back in his normal dorm. As he puts on his shirt, our hero notices that all his injuries are completely gone and wonders if it was all just a hallucination. However, the system screen floating right there in front of him proves that the evolution was real and all the power came back with him. Analyzing his supercharged attributes, the MC is eager to find out which rank he currently fits into. Cutting off his reflection, the cocky roommate appears, getting dressed and calling his attention presumptuously. The mage comments in a mocking tone that he's been hearing a lot of exaggerated rumors about the boy overnight. Finding the situation amusing, he reveals that people are spreading it all over school that the MC has become a monster of strength. Completely paranoid, the roommate questions if our hero is planning to take his place as the boss of the room. Having no patience for drama, Sichen ignores the little show and just reminds him that the classification test is about to begin. The roommate takes a furious bite of his bread, feeling the blow to his pride for being snubbed so easily. Walking across campus, the mage brags, claiming that most people there are rabble, but he's already on a much higher level. Explaining that the difference in strength is absurd, he guarantees he could beat up dozens of weak newbies at the same time. Full of himself, the boy continues talking to himself as he dreams of a spectacular promotion in today's official test. Whispering slyly, Malong asks his friend to show all his power and shut the annoying roommate up once and for all. The assassin just listens to the suggestion and finds it funny that his friend's big goal is something as low as D class. The atmosphere in the school courtyard changes as students gather in droves for the big event. Suddenly, a loud greeting cuts through the group's conversation, catching everyone's attention instantly. The official testing area is already completely packed with anxious students well before the scheduled time. Ma Long panics upon recognizing the same punk henchman who beat them up the day before, pushing through the crowd. Staring at the big guys brutally clearing a path, his friend suggests they stay far away to avoid trouble. Bad luck strikes when the bullies stare directly at the pair, terrifying them. Without showing the slightest bit of fear, Sichen just waits for them to approach with the utmost coolness. However, contrary to expectations, the henchmen start to sweat and tremble as soon as they recognize the MC. In a bizarre move, the brutes bow respectfully and shout, calling the boy boss in front of everyone. The cocky mage's jaw drops, seeing the absurd level of respect, and he starts to wonder if the insane rumors were actually true. Completely ignoring the gang's exaggerated reverence, our hero walks right past them as if they were nothing. Immediately after, the student council officer named Jiang Jin appears, ironically asking about yesterday's fight. With a chilling smile, the guy makes sure to remind him that the defeated bully is the brother of the powerful school president. The surrounding students erupt in an uproar, recognizing the officer's authority and predicting that the situation is about to get very ugly. Xiangzu despairs, noticing that the president's D-class lackey is now aiming all his fury at their roommate. Keeping up the threatening pressure, the officer approaches, saying he has an excellent nose for recognizing dangerous people. Whispering maliciously, the lackey asserts that the boy exudes only the pathetic scent of a failure destined for the trash heap. He insists on provoking him, praising his own instinct for always knowing who really has strength in that place. Reinforcing the cruel mockery, the guy makes it clear that the MC will never be more than a weak and insignificant worm. Completely bored with the childish threat, the assassin breaks the tension by bluntly asking if the guy is a dog. The sarcastic comment hits the officer's pride directly, causing him to lose his composure and scream furiously at the insult. Before the argument turns into a brawl, a firm and authoritative voice echoes from the top of the stairs, telling the lackey to stop immediately. President Gong Ting descends the steps, coldly stating that he has already investigated the fight and knows his own brother was in the wrong. Walking across the track, the top leader of the council reinforces that paying the price for one's mistakes is simply the natural course of things. Despite agreeing with the rules, the president's sharp gaze reveals that he won't let this humiliation go unpunished. Our hero returns the heavy glare without flinching, perfectly aware that he has made a powerful enemy for the future. The tense atmosphere is broken when the evaluator on stage announces over the microphone that the long-awaited classification test will finally begin. Leaving with his team, Gongting focuses on the main event while his lackey concludes that the boy is just a harmless weakling. Watching everything from a distance, Vice President Ling Yu eyes the council's strange movements with great suspicion. On top of a building, influential observers discuss the strange presence of major figures at this simple school test. Taking a sip of her tea, the woman with short hair gives a slight smile, predicting that things are going to get out of hand today. The giant screen lights up, displaying the name Shangzuo, and the crowd goes wild, cheering for the mage's success in the challenge. Stepping onto the stage full of confidence, the boy extends his hand, determined to show the entire school how powerful he has become. He positions himself in front of a glowing energy pillar that will measure his raw power limit exactly. The system's narration explains that this power assessment occurs through a virtual environment specially created for safe testing. At the core of the school's machinery, a demon heart connected to several cables prepares to absorb the attack. With a cry of effort, Shangzu unleashes all his fire magic against the target to ensure the best possible score. With that, the demonic heart absorbs all of the intense fire attack and begins to transmit the raw energy through the cables. The machine hums as it focuses on processing the exact force of the blow. Soon the giant screen updates, showing that Shangzuo has reached mid-level E class, calculating the data in real time. One of the evaluators announces that the registration is complete, questioning why the other information hasn't come out yet. Excited, his colleague beside him points to the screen, stating that the main event is about to begin. The system explains that, in addition to current strength, the machine also measures the maximum potential a student can achieve in the future. The screen glows, revealing a C-level potential, ensuring that students with high scores receive a lot of attention from the state. Frustrated with the result, the mage complains that he hasn't improved at all in 2 years and curses his own score as he leaves the stage. Trying to console his friend on the stairs, Malong tells him to relax because the rest of the class is even weaker. But the piece is short-lived, as a cocky student starts mocking their low scores, betting that the school won't have a single D class. Right at that moment, the screen beeps, showing a result of low-level D class, leaving the bullies completely shocked. The crowd in the bleachers goes wild, seeing the first D class of the year appear, boasting a fine B-level potential. Some time passes, and another boy finishes the test, also achieving the coveted D class with an incredible A-level potential. Sweating bullets from the competition, the pair realizes that he is already the 8th student to get such a high score. The teachers comment with surprise on the number of talented individuals, as usually only a couple of graduates reach that level. With such a good crop, one evaluator bets that the practical combat exam will be a spectacle to watch this year. The system calls the next on the list, and President Gongting walks imposingly to the testing area. The audience goes into a frenzy, celebrating that it's finally the young master of the Imperial Guild's turn to show his strength. Watching everything from the crowd, our hero hears the rumors about the rich kid being a prodigy loaded with important titles. The students gossip that he already reached D class 2 years ago, eager to see what absurd level he'll hit today. The demonic heart inside the machine begins to pulse violently, feeling the president's oppressive energy approach. With an arrogant posture, Gongting simply touches the core's structure to begin the official evaluation. Thinking aloud, he decides to hold back a good portion of his power now, saving his full strength to cause a shock in the combat exam. Still, the president is absolutely certain that even by taking it easy, he will secure the top spot in the school's history. The giant screen begins to frantically calculate the data, emitting an intense yellow light throughout the courtyard. One of the teachers' eyes widen immediately upon recognizing the meaning of that bright color on the screen. The final result explodes in everyone's faces, marking high-level D class with an unbelievable S-rank potential. The bleachers turn into total chaos, with the crowd screaming hysterically, unable to believe they are seeing a maximum potential up close. The rich kids sycophants scream at the top of their lungs, praising the historic achievement and exalting their leader's greatness. While his friend with glasses freaks out with excitement for witnessing history, the assassin continues to watch the little show without any enthusiasm. The evaluators frantically confirm that there is no error in the system, deciding to report the news directly to their superiors. They comment that a boy with this potential will become a state-protected treasure, making headlines across the country. Far away, 2 important figures watch the commotion from an office window, noting the absurd number of talented individuals. The director of the National University shrewdly asks if his colleague knew about the president's absurd S rank all along. Maintaining her mysterious pose, Vice President Ling Yu denies the guess, and says she definitely didn't come all this way just for the rich kid. She flashes an excited smile, revealing that she is waiting with much more anticipation for another specific student to take their turn. Cutting off the gossip, the audible notification calls the next participant, and the MC begins to walk calmly through the crowd. Our hero's name echoes through the courtyard, marking the moment he has been waiting for to test his new limits. Before he passes, that same cocky student gets in his way, mockingly demanding that the boy bring some honor to their room. Laughing hysterically, the bully threatens that it will be a disaster if all 4 roommates get the worst scores. Humiliating them without mercy, he throws it in their faces that a bunch of failures will only embarrass themselves in the final exam and become a laughingstock on campus. Trembling with rage, Malong musters his courage and stammers that the MC is going to make the jerk's eyes pop out of his head in shock. Completely immune to the childish provocations, Si-chen just ignores the shouting and positions himself in front of the large evaluation machine. Seeing the boy's unshakable confidence, the bullies swallow hard and begin to doubt if he really is hiding some secret strength. In the depths of the system, the pulsating core awaits the assassin's energy amidst the darkness of the control room. Suddenly, the monstrous heart's eye opens bizarrely upon detecting the threatening presence right in front of it. Extending his hand to the panel, the MC remembers that joining a high-level guild is the only chance to secure a good future. The narration highlights that the great opportunity to prove their worth to these recruiters is to survive the cruel practical combat exam. As a fundamental rule of this test, each student has complete freedom to form their own squad with up to 10 participants. The grand prize for the winning squad is direct recruitment by the Imperial Guild, elevating the weight of this school test. In the crowd, several weaker students start groveling, begging to be accepted into the teams of the stronger ranks. The perfect clique forms around Gongting, with the team ensuring that gathering all available D-class members guarantees victory. The selection system focuses on creating the unbeatable team, and the sycophants flatter the president, claiming he will be the master of the game. By the harsh law of survival, while the strong unite at the top, the weaker students end up isolated and destined for early elimination. Tense with the delay, Malong bites his nails, finding it strange that his friend is just standing there in front of the machine with nothing happening. The official screen with our hero's name remains completely blank, without showing a single piece of data about his evaluation. Seeing the system's silence, the crowd takes the opportunity to make fun, deducing that the boy's level is so pathetic that the machine can't even read it. The rich kid's henchmen agree that only trash is left to be tested and invite their boss to go enjoy some karak since the team is set. Accepting the idea with his usual arrogance, the president turns his back and tells them to call the rest of the squad to celebrate. But as soon as they take the first step, the giant screen suffers a power surge and begins to emit a distorted yellow glow. The panel locks directly on high-level D, catching the attention of all the students who were ready to leave. The MC's roommates are frozen in shock, barely believing the miracle that just flashed before their eyes. The same bully who was mocking him before now screams desperately, trying to pretend he always knew about the boy's absurd strength. Surprised by the turn of events, the arrogant leader stops in his tracks and looks over his shoulder, not understanding the miracle of that loser. In the depths, the demonic heart writhes in desperation, causing the system to report a critical failure and request that the test be redone. Without taking his eyes off his own hand, our hero concludes that his normal body's base attributes are already enough to hit D class. A technological glow envelopes his fingers as the system loads the activation of his new, freshly devoured special class. A dark aura covers his body as he assumes the mantle of the infernal king of death, and he decides to test the power of this new acquired form. Immediately, the machine freaks out with the bizarre increase in strength and updates the scoreboard, jumping straight to C level in front of everyone. The classification settles at mid-level C class, proving that the spiritual pressure of that monster was something beyond the school's reality. The teachers tear their hair out in panic, screaming that it's impossible for a student's rank to keep climbing like that without stopping. Sweating and completely shaken, the president listens to his henchmen try to justify the situation by accusing the machine of being broken. Confusion takes over the evaluation desk, with the heads not understanding the reason for the failures, as they have never witnessed anything like it. The organic core completely collapses, sweating profusely and forcing error alerts to pop up on the main screen again. Completely enveloped in destructive purple lightning, the assassin coldly deduces that his other classes certainly break the C-level barrier. The system confirms the class change to Purgatory Rakshasa, as the MC unleashes the full extent of his true power. Pressured by this overwhelming force, the great eye of the demonic heart widens in complete desperation. A storm of sinister purple energy begins to swirl violently within the machine's virtual space. Shortly after, a colossal dark lightning bolt rips through the sky, striking directly in the testing area. Watching this apocalyptic scene, the students panic, not understanding the madness that is happening. His friend with glasses completely freaks out, screaming that this is a celestial omen and that their dorm has just birthed a god-level monster. On the giant screen, the rank and potential data begin to flicker and distort frantically. The colored bars of the evaluation system short-circuit heavily, unable to calculate the raw power. The teachers scream hysterically, thinking another S-rank potential has just appeared. Even the arrogant President Gong Ting sweats and his jaw drops at the demonstration. The system emits a red alert, flashing the word, danger on the screen. The panel soon warns of a fatal error in the machinery due to overload. The interface confirms that the potential value is undetectable, as it has surpassed the maximum limit the machine can handle. Seeing the imminent collapse, one of the evaluators screams at the top of his lungs, completely terrified. With the absurd pressure of the energy, the giant screen in the courtyard simply explodes into 1,000 pieces. The teacher despairs, warning that the demonic heart is overloading and tells someone to save the student inside. The machine's cables snap, releasing smoke, while the evaluators ask if the boy is okay. Staring at the testing room through the glass, the bosses freeze in place at the bizarre scene. The monstrous core that used to float is now completely dry and dead. Standing there, the assassin feigns confusion, asking if the device burned out from overuse. But inside, the MC admits he accidentally pushed it too hard and choked the machine, getting a surprise in the process. The holographic screen announces that the absorption of the A-rank heart was a success, proving that the gluttony ability even works on machines. With that, he turns his back on the technological scrap and calmly walks back to the courtyard. The boy activates the newly stolen ability, making his eye glow intensely with a greenish light. Looking at the crowd, floating panels appear above each student's head, revealing their exact level. Focused on the new feature, he concludes that being able to see anyone's true strength will be extremely useful. When he looks at the council president, the system shows that the rich kid is hiding his strength and is actually a mediocre C class. On the stage, the evaluators clear their throats, announcing that the day's test is suspended due to the machine's sudden demise. The official guarantees that our hero's bizarre data will be sent directly to the higher-ups for analysis. Overly excited, his friend with glasses grabs him, calling him an absolute genius, and drags the group off to celebrate. Unable to accept the result, the council's lackey accuses our hero of being a loser and claims it was all just a system error. Grabbing the glasses, wearing friend's clothes, the guy freaks out, saying their group ruined the entire day's schedule. Completely out of patience, the MC lets energy crackle in his fingers, finding the guy incredibly annoying. Glaring at the lackey with pure hatred, the assassin seriously considers whether he should just cripple the idiot right there. Before the worst can happen, President Gong Ting orders his subordinate to back off and not disrespect their new colleague. The bully stammers, completely incredulous upon hearing the word, colleague, come out of his leader's mouth. Oozing arrogance, the rich kid extends his hand, inviting our hero to join his squad for the combat exam. The president states, with all the confidence in the world, that the highest score in history will belong to them. The gossip spreads like wildfire among the students, shocked that someone will have to be kicked off the elite team to make room for the boy. One of the official squad members sweats nervously, terrified of losing his spot that guaranteed an easy first place. Several students feel envious, lamenting that they paid expensive bribes and still couldn't get that opportunity. Everyone watches the extended hand, believing that the boy will obviously accept the offer from the school's big shot. Swallowing his own hatred, the lackey forces a fake smile and welcomes the MC, not wanting to contradict his boss. But in a sharp move, our hero simply slaps the rich kid's hand away, announcing loud and clear that he's not interested. The slap echoes through the courtyard, leaving the lackey outraged and the president with an expression of pure fury. Furious at the snub, the henchman yells, praising the team's strength, but the assassin ignores him, saying he doesn't care about that. Glaring at the lackey out of the corner of his eye, the MC emanates a heavy aura and tells him to stop bothering him for good. The lackey grinds his teeth in rage, summoning a small flame in his hand, dying to attack. The crowd whispers, unable to believe the boy's absurd courage in rejecting the all-powerful student council to their faces. One student concludes that our hero plans to take first place alone to prove the worth of his C rank. The MC's friends laugh nervously, finding the bully's broken expectations hilarious but fearing the consequences. Maintaining a chilling calm, the president states that he respects his colleagues' individual decisions. The afternoon sun illuminates the courtyard as the tension of that silent conflict spreads through the campus hallways. From the top of the building, the university director laments that the partnership didn't happen, as he wanted to see a new record being broken. The vice president finds this newly created rivalry much more exciting to watch. She explains that a spoiled kid like the president surely saw that refusal as a direct declaration of war. Reinforcing the warning, the woman points out that the student leader hides an extremely dangerous personality behind his pose. Behind the scenes, the henchman continues to complain, insisting that the boy only thinks he's strong because of the machine's failure. With a dark look, the rich kid warns that he can't risk losing his precious first place in case the score is real. Oozing malice, the lackey offers to teach the newbie a lesson, since they have vast combat experience. Tugging his subordinate's ear, Gong Ting coldly asks if he looks that petty, making the guy sweat. Turning his back, the rich kid says he's lost the desire to go to karaoke, and tells the team to handle their own celebration. But before disappearing, he casts a threatening glance and makes it clear that any action from the henchman has no connection to him. The lackey blinks a few times, taking a second to understand his boss's subliminal message. With a purely evil expression, the guy agrees that his future actions will be his own full responsibility. 10 minutes later, the subordinate calls his cronies, wanting to confirm if the MC really left the school. The informant on the other end of the line guarantees that the boy went straight home without even stopping to eat. Crushing a can on the ground with his foot, the lackey celebrates the great luck that just fell into his lap. With a cynical look on his face, he deduces that catching the newbie outside the gates makes the whole dirty job easier. Meanwhile, the assassin walks calmly through the streets, unaware that the bully plans to attack him without mercy. Away from the school's hustle and bustle, the dark memories of his past life begin to hammer in the MC's head. He remembers that one of the largest hunter guilds went to explore a demon dungeon and ended up running into pure disaster. The monstrous creature that annihilated the entire elite team was none other than the feared demon king of wrath. The boy recalls that it was exactly after this massacre that the beast opened the gates and invaded the human world. Focused on the future, our hero stops in the middle of the sidewalk, mentally reviewing the perfect plan he devised to hunt this monster. It all begins with the MC standing in front of the Mithril Guild, thinking that he needs a large sum of money. He enters the spacious building, remembering that in the future, this branch will become the country's largest monster materials exchange. Observing the displayed weapons, our hero understands that this equipment is fundamental to defining and awaken its strength. Selling parts here is also the fastest way to make some serious cash right now, so he tosses some teeth on the table. An appraiser with glasses picks up the material with disgust and questions where a mere student got it. Keeping his cool, the boy explains that it was loot from a monster, but the employee still doesn't recognize the item. Just then, a pink-haired attendant approaches and identifies the pieces as teeth from an E-rank cloud-type monster. Wanting to show off, the appraiser starts rambling about how the material can be used to create scepters or make magic powder. The girl cuts off his pointless chatter, but the guy defends himself, saying he only deals with VIP clients and D-rank items or higher. Sighing in frustration, he grumbles about the lack of high-level clients and wonders when he'll be promoted to supervisor. Tired of this runaround, the assassin checks his phone, thinking it's rotten luck to always run into these unhelpful types. Suddenly, someone calls the employee named Lee's attention, telling him to take over the rest of the process and work hard. Quickly, the man hands over the tray with the payment for the sale and formally asks if the boy needs anything else. Seeing the $18,000 in his account, our hero feels relieved that he already has enough to cover this month's rent. However, activating his purple magic in his hand, the MC announces that he has one more thing to take care of. Pulling a huge sword from his inventory, the boy asks them to take a good look at the equipment. The attendant is impressed by the dark and imposing look of the giant weapon. Analyzing the magical aura, the woman deduces that the item must be at least B rank, or maybe even A rank. The appraiser scoffs immediately, stating that an A-level weapon costs $1 million, and he's never seen one in all his years of work. At that moment, an elegant man in a blue suit suddenly appears, agreeing that the sword is neither A rank nor B rank. Thinking he's won the argument, the employee praises his boss's insight and scoffs at the poor student's capabilities. But the man in the suit adjusts his glasses and declares that the piece came from the lands of Purgatory, being a pure S-rank piece of equipment. Hearing this absurd classification makes the appraiser completely lose it, screaming in disbelief at what he just heard. Ignoring his subordinate, the manager quickly approaches and shakes our hero's hand firmly. Completely changing his attitude, he opens a friendly smile and welcomes his newest distinguished guest. With utmost politeness, the boss guides the boy to the VIP room while the mediocre employee bows, dying of shame. Sitting comfortably, the assassin observes the manager and mentally celebrates that his true target has finally appeared. He knows very well that the refined man's name is Chung Jai. A cup of hot tea is served to ease the initial tension of the negotiation. Settled on the luxury sofa, the man in the suit gets straight to the point and asks for how much the boy intends to sell the sword. Looking the man in the eyes, the MC throws out a lowball price and asks for only $1 million for the piece. The boss is quite surprised by the amount, questioning if he's really asking for so little. Being very honest, the manager explains that an S-level piece of equipment is worth tens of millions and would cause a frenzy on the market. Cutting him off, the boy clarifies that he wants to use the weapon only as collateral for a $1 million loan and will pay it back in a month. The man in the suit analyzes the situation, deducing that the newcomer is smart for not selling such a treasure and surely plans to use it later. Seeing the boy calmly sipping his tea, Chungjai suspects he might be a runaway rich kid or a hidden prodigy, but he's definitely not ordinary. Reinforcing the deal, our hero promises to return the principal amount in 1 month and pay 10% interest the following month. Resting his face in his hand, the manager takes a calculated pause, putting the pieces together in his head. He soon comments that the boy studies at the National Awakened University, and that the seniors there are about to graduate. Showing he's well informed, the boss mentions that the great annual graduation exam will take place in exactly 30 days. As if that weren't enough, he points out that the prize money for the first place winner is precisely the sum of 1 million. With a shrewd smile, Chung-jae hits the nail on the head by guessing that the boy is completely confident he will win the tournament. The MC remains silent, just listening to the negotiator's excellent line of reasoning. The man in the suit continues, noting that offering such a rare item as collateral only proves that the student needs this money urgently. To conclude, the man deduces that the boy would never choose such a risky option if he weren't completely cornered. Satisfied with his own deduction, the manager takes control of the negotiation and decides to make an irresistible offer. He proposes to lend $1.5 million in cash right away, and best of all, with 0 interest for the first month. Getting up from the sofa, the boss extends his hand in a friendly manner, asking them to consider this the beginning of a great friendship. Our hero blinks, a bit surprised, not expecting such a generous attitude from a profit-focused businessman. Guaranteeing complete confidentiality, the man only asks that the boy treat their guild as the absolute priority when he needs to do business in the future. As he signs the agreement, the assassin admires the manager's intelligence, understanding perfectly why he will become the greatest in the world. Shaking the rich man's hand, the boy is certain that he will need trustworthy allies to succeed in eliminating the creature of wrath. The partnership is sealed right then and there, marking the beginning of a mutually beneficial alliance for both sides of this story. Golden magic seal glows on the boy's palm, officially validating the contract. At the same instant, his phone beeps, confirming the $1 million transfer directly to the student's bank account. Curious, Chung-jae asks what the newbie plans to use in the graduation tournament, since he just pawned his best weapon. The manager offers to lend some A or B rank equipment from his own stock, as they no longer have any S-level items. Without losing his composure, the MC summons a second, identical magic sword, casually mentioning that he still has a spare. Faced with this absurd revelation, both the boss and the attendant completely lose their cool and freak out. With a full pocket and the problem solved, the boy leaves the guild, being treated like a true king by the employees. Inside, the manager celebrates his luck in helping such an important client and promotes the attendant to supervisor on the spot. Walking down the sidewalk under the afternoon light, the boy suddenly stops and remembers an important detail. Looking back, he mutters to himself that he still needs to buy a certain thing before going home. Without wasting time, our hero gets into a taxi and asks the driver to go straight to his next destination. The vehicle drops him right in front of the bustling long-distance bus terminal of Kangcheng County. Standing in the bus station courtyard, the difficult memories of his past life return, reminding him of how his family struggled financially. He recalls that right after graduating, no guild would accept him, forcing him to do tough odd jobs just to scrape together rent money. In those dark times, he and his younger sister had to live extremely frugally just to survive the month. His mind travels to the admission letter from the Central International Institute of Art in the girl's name. But because of their extreme poverty, the young woman had to tear up her own letter, crying, accepting that at least she had passed. Clenching his fist, the MC laments that his little sister gave up her dream, just so she wouldn't be a financial burden and could take care of him. Back in the present, the boy checks his phone, worried, noticing that it's already late, and she should have gotten off the bus by now. Suddenly, an excited shout calling his name rips through the air, making our hero turn his head immediately. A girl runs toward him, scolding him for waiting at the entrance instead of the correct exit. Stopping in front of her brother with her suitcase, Sa-yun complains with a sad face that they are completely broke after paying the rent. Shocked, the boy can hardly believe it's already been 7 years. Walking with her luggage, Sa-yun calls out to her older brother and asks for a little help. Extending her hand, the girl asks why he's just standing there with a blank look on his face. Without a second thought, the MC moves forward and hugs his sister with all his might. Caught completely off guard, she widens her eyes, not understanding a thing. He tightens the hug, deeply emotional to finally be reunited with the young woman after so long. Trying to break free, the girl mutters her brother's name with great difficulty. With that, she starts pounding on his chest desperately, asking if he wants to choke her to an early grave. Already carrying the suitcase, Si-chen hears her say he's acting weird and denies that he got dumped. Continuing on their way, the girl keeps chattering about how crazy the trip for the exam was. Watching the girl with affection, our hero promises himself that this time things will be different. He mentally guarantees that he will never let his little sister go through any suffering again. Meanwhile, in a dark alley, someone confirms that this is the path the boy takes home. The guy tells his cronies to hide and attack the student as soon as he appears. Showing pure sadism, the lackey says he's going to teach him what happens when people mess with him. Nearby, one of the thugs hesitates and questions what they'll do if the situation gets out of control. The gang leader spits on the ground, annoyed, complaining that the loser's attitude really got on his nerves. Recalling the rich kid's cold warning, the lackey swears he will destroy the newbie without any mercy. With blood in his eyes, the punk declares that the student won't even make it to the graduation exam. Pulling out a shiny knife, Cheongdi brags about being one of the best assassins in the entire school. Oblivious to the imminent danger, the two siblings continue to walk calmly along the sidewalk, sipping a juice. Siyun notices her brother's tension and asks if he's stressed about the big exam. Walking ahead, she jokes that a blockhead like him doesn't usually show so many feelings. Turning back, the girl repeats his own advice about life being a long journey full of chances. Lightening the mood, the girl starts humming a motivational song very loudly in the middle of the street. Admiring his sister's perception, the MC notices that she figured out something had changed right away. He assures her that everything is fine, but the young woman gives him a suspicious look, thinking it's just male pride. Shrugging, she teases her brother, saying he's getting old and building emotional walls. Suddenly, a suspicious-looking boot steps heavily, blocking the path on the deserted street. Observing the pair, the henchman informs his boss that the target is accompanied by a girl. Hiding in the shadows, the assassin celebrates his great luck in catching the boy in an alley with no cameras. However, the MC's sharp instinct soon picks up a familiar scent in the air. Staring into the darkness, he recognizes the student council lackeys blocking the way. Analyzing the armed adversaries, our hero finds it very bold of them to show up there like that. With a quick movement, the student pulls a wireless earbud from its case. With that, he gently places the device in his little sister's ear, who doesn't notice the danger around her. Confused by the gesture, the girl hears him ask her to listen to a song he really liked. Being very understanding, Siyun closes her eyes and lets herself be carried away by the melody playing on the earbud. Maintaining his serenity, the boy comments that songs are a good indicator of a person's state of mind. Dropping the suitcase on the ground, the assassin prepares for combat while his sister agrees to listen to the music. Led by Cheongdi, the low-ranked punks advance through the alley, ready for their cowardly act. Completely isolated from the real world, the girl relaxes, enjoying the calm beat of the song. Seizing the opportunity, the entire gang charges furiously toward the lone hero. Electrical energy begins to overflow from the MC as painful memories surface. With fury in his eyes, he is outraged by these scumbags ruining his long-awaited family moment. Without wasting a second, the boy lunges forward like a lightning bolt and smashes the first henchman's face. The brutal impact sends the thug flying down the alley, knocking him out instantly. While his sister listens peacefully to the music, our hero delivers punches charged with pure energy to the gang. Seeing the terrifying scene, one of the punks lets out a scream of panic before being attacked. Relentlessly, the MC unleashes a devastating sequence, taking down the lackeys one by one. Taking advantage of an opening, he lands a powerful kick that sends another enemy flying through the air. Immediately after, our hero finishes another adversary with a crushing downward blow. Grabbing an aggressor's arm, he focuses his concentrated electricity directly on the guy's wrist. With a sharp movement, the boy breaks the man's limb, who screams in pain at that very instant. Terrified by the massacre, the last lackey goes into shock, trembling from head to toe. Cutting off the thug's crying, the assassin connects a devastating punch right in the middle of his mug. The force of the impact generates a shockwave that throws the guy against the brick wall. Watching the extermination of his team, Cheongdi panics, unable to understand the strength of that monster. Enveloped in a golden aura, the student continues to advance too quickly to be followed. Closing the distance in the blink of an eye, he focuses all his attention directly on the gang leader. Maintaining the frantic pace, the boy winds up for a direct punch aimed at the leader. The fist charged with electrical energy cuts through the air with impressive speed. Swaying nervously, the coward tries to maintain his courage, reminding himself that he is the best assassin in the school. Desperate to save himself, the lackey attacks with the knife, screaming that he's going to finish the newbie. However, our hero easily dodges the cut and lands a devastating cross on the guy's jaw. The damage from the blow sends the thug's body flying brutally backward down the alley. Giving him no chance to defend, the MC leaps, pursuing the aggressor in mid-air. He lands another direct hit on the adversary's chest, breaking his resistance instantly. Finishing the combo, the student smashes the boss's face, driving the guy into the ground without mercy. Shrouded in shadows, the assassin exudes an intimidating intent as he surveys the damage done. Holding the enemy's knife, our hero recalls the warning he gave them to never bother him again. Looking down at the scum, he asks menacingly which part of the message wasn't clear. Lying in a pool of blood, the bully realizes his ribs are broken and stammers out an apology. Grabbing the lackey's neck, Si Chen points the blade, ordering him to shut up or else. Faced with this lethal threat, the punk cries in panic, realizing that this kid is not messing around. Exuding a terrifying aura, the MC leaves the coward shocked to see so much killing intent in a mere student. Staring coldly at the trash, he tells the guy to remember every single word of his warning, making it clear they can go rot for all he cares. The rule is to never bother him or his sister again. With the blade pressed against the punk's face, the boy swears to eliminate them one by one if they ever come near her again. Without flinching, our hero asks darkly if the message was well understood. Desperate and sweating, the gang leader agrees, nodding his head frantically. With the problem solved, the student throws the knife on the ground and calmly returns to where the girl is waiting. Completely isolated from the world, Siyun listens to the reflective music, feeling a strong tightness in her chest. Letting a tear fall, she realizes that her brother is acting like someone carrying a burden that's far too heavy. Saddened by this realization, the young woman wonders why he would be so lonely when she has always been there for him. Taking off the earbud indignantly, the girl complains that he took the joke way too far this time. However, her attention is soon stolen when the boy extends a small, mysterious box. In a very affectionate tone, the MC reveals that he bought that gift especially for her. Shocked by the shiny item, the girl immediately recognizes the famous latest generation holographic magic pen. Curious, she immediately questions where her brother got the more than 10,000 needed to pay for it. Worried, the young woman suggests returning the item because it's too expensive, while the boy bitterly remembers when he couldn't protect her dream. Clenching his bruised fist, the student promises himself that in this new chance, things will be different. Determined, he guarantees he will protect his sister's future. As the gang of punks is being tended to by ambulances in the alley, without wasting time, the girl turns on the new pen and starts testing the pink light in the air. Drawing floating fish, she is amazed to see the holographic images come to life in front of her. Already at home eating noodles, our hero praises the food and states that money doesn't matter if she liked the gift. Cutting the mood, the girl scolds him, saying he can't be splurging money when they still need to pay the rent. Taking a sip of the broth, the young man calmly informs her that he has already paid for the entire year's rent, leaving his sister in shock. Scratching the back of his neck, the boy makes up a lame excuse about starting a business with a friend to make some cash. Knowing him well, Siyun accuses her brother of being a terrible liar and of keeping secrets from her. Observing him closely, the girl gives up on pressing him upon noticing a profound change. It had been a long time since she had seen her brother with such a light and genuinely happy expression. Putting her worries aside, the young woman hugs the MC with great affection and relief. Cuddled up to him, she just asks her brother not to go overboard and to be careful with his own choices. Touched by the girl's concern, our hero silently nods in agreement with her request. Far away, the news that Cheongdi had more than 60% of his bones fractured reaches a luxurious room. Staring at a giant aquarium, a young man notes that not even the best doctors could heal the lackey in time. Turning his head, he shows irritation that the idiot picked a fight with Sai Chen of all people and ended up destroyed. Sitting comfortably on the sofa, the woman comments that the injured boy will surely miss the graduation exam. Being completely cold, the man in the suit dismisses the henchman's usefulness and states that the team is better off without dead weight. Not caring about his ally's condition, the man walks through the dark room, focused on his own objectives. Just then, the director of university services, named Gong Xuan, speaks up, complaining about this Sai Chen's interference. The old man in the suit confirms the suspicions, revealing that the MC did indeed reach C rank, surpassing everyone. Bothered by the news, the rich young man's face darkens upon learning there is a student above his own level at the school. Warning the young man, the director says that his father has invited big shots to watch the exam and that no one can steal the show. Keeping a backup plan, the old man suggests an alternative in case things go wrong during the important evaluation. With her legs crossed, the woman offers to put her own niece on Gong Ting's team to fill the gap. Interrupting the conversation, the arrogant hare informs the director that they are racking their brains for nothing. Displaying a predatory look, the rich kid questions if his partners really think he fought seriously in the last evaluation. Full of confidence, the elite student guarantees that on the day of the final combat, all the judges will discover the truth. The boy declares that he will show the entire academy who the real strongest one is. Meanwhile, at 11 at night, the MC takes a hot shower in the men's dorm to relax his muscles. Drying his hair, he thinks with relief that with the rent problem solved, the post-graduation plan can begin. For that, the next clear goal is to secure the $1 million prize from the tournament to pay off the risky loan. Remembering the loan shark in the suit, the boy knows he needs to honor the agreement, as he will still need the contact very much. Lying in bed looking at the ceiling, our hero mentally calculates that there is less than a month until the big event. Knowing the difficulty, he decides he needs to level up a few more times, and soon starts his progression system. In the blink of an eye, the boy's consciousness is transported to the base of the immense and sinister reddish tower. Walking up the stone stairs, the young man reviews the latest results of his exclusive abilities. The system indicated that his weakest class, focused on controlling shadow beasts, has already reached C rank. However, the interface informs him that the potential of his demonic transformation is so immense that it cannot be calculated. Evaluating the hidden profiles, the student admits that he cannot extract the full power of this S-level class. As the limits remain a mystery, the young man summons a small, shiny golden key in the palm of his hand. Prepared for real combat, he decides to use the artifact to test his true strength once and for all. Inserting the relic into the air, a cosmic vortex expands, revealing the hidden dangers inside the Tower of Darkness. Passing through the floating black hole, the student wonders what bizarre scenario awaits him on the other side. Upon stepping on the ground, his eyes widen, impressed by the completely different environment. The scenery is a desolate land covered in rocks and illuminated only by a gigantic galaxy in the sky. Suddenly, the boy's body reacts instinctively to a drastic change in the air around him. Unable to bear it, he is crushed against the rocky ground, groaning in pain from the sudden weight. Sweating profusely, our hero discovers the hard way that the gravity in this biome is 10 times greater than normal. To make matters worse, the exit door disappears, forcing the boy to fight using only 30% of his strength. Knowing he needs to adapt quickly, he notices a threatening shadow lurking among the rocks up ahead. A huge ghost lion made of cosmic energy reveals its fangs, ready to devour the intruder right then and there. Panting from the pressure on his chest, the MC activates the panel, requesting an immediate change of combat class. Enveloped in golden lightning, he assumes the electric assassin stance, facing the beast that guards the place. Without warning, the shining monster leaps, breaking the ground, and charges at the boy at a terrifying speed. With sharp reflexes, the boy slides down, narrowly escaping the creature's sharp claws. Feeling his muscles weigh a ton, he decides he needs to finish the battle before he gets exhausted. Taking advantage of the opening, our hero lands a direct electric blow, but the attack fails miserably to cause any damage. Surprised, the MC can't believe his attack didn't hit the target at all. With that, he soon understands that the high gravity has severely hampered his speed, causing the assassin class to lose all its advantage. To make matters worse, the giant beast continues to move around the area with the greatest of ease. Seizing the opening, the shining monster charges with full force and lands a heavy blow on the boy. Knowing he needs to change his strategy, our hero activates the system and immediately switches to his extreme strength class. A monstrous aura takes over his body, revealing the incredibly high attributes of this new form. Since close quarters combat requires a lot of endurance, this warrior class is the perfect choice for the hostile environment. Without wasting time, the student concentrates an overwhelming purple energy in his fist as he advances. He activates the special ability to increase downward impact and accumulates the weight of gravity to the maximum. With this entire combo activated in an already heavy biome, the force of his punch is amplified 60 times over. Faced with this absurd threat, the cosmic creature lets out a fierce roar, trying to defend itself. But the impact is devastating, and the young man strikes the ground with overwhelming power, right on target. The collision generates a colossal energy explosion, activating super heavy mode and sweeping away everything around. After the dust settles, our hero places his hand on the rocky ground, trying to catch his breath from that insane effort. Lying on the destroyed ground, the boy receives the notification confirming the kill and securing 12,000 experience points. Panting, the MC checks the interface and sees that he has finally reached level 11. The system informs him that each star on the card represents a direct multiplier for his attributes. Analyzing the data, he notices that his strength class has many more stars than his assassin class. Thus, the total power amplification in this form ends up being much greater. However, the boy admits that dealing with a B rank monster required almost all of his energy. It becomes clear that his two current classes have not yet managed to break the limit of this classification. Furthermore, our hero finds it strange that the system did not activate the Devourer mark after taking down the enemy. Walking through the empty terrain, he spots the portal of light that should lead to the next floor of the tower. But a bad feeling comes over him, and he stops walking, reflecting on the bizarre situation. Slowly turning his head, the young man faces the black hole in the sky from which the beast had emerged. Dozens of bright, sinister eyes begin to blink within the deep darkness. Tense, he understands that the true boss of this area has not yet shown itself. To the student's despair, that creature that demanded everything from him was just a random lackey from the pack. Without any warning, an entire pack of these cosmic lions charges with full force at the young man. Caught by surprise, he tries to defend himself from the barrage of swift blows using only his bare arms. Being massacred by the beasts, the boy finally understands the warning that this path would bring endless pain. The giant monster opens its jaws to deliver the fatal blow to the intruder. With his face covered in blood, the MC displays a furious look as he tries to endure the excruciating pain. In a sudden jolt, the young man wakes up startled in his dorm room, sweating. thrown onto the bed in his pajamas. He tries to normalize his breathing after that intense nightmare. Feeling his entire body ache, our hero knows that the sensation of having his muscles torn in the tower is real, and there are no shortcuts. Despite everything, he maintains his firm determination and accepts that this lonely road has just begun. Sometime later, on May 20th, 2157, the students gather in the university auditorium. At the judges' table, director Gong Xuan seriously follows the graduation event. In the bleachers, students excitedly gossip about the presence of big shots from the Alliance watching live. For them, this perfectly explains the sudden changes in this year's evaluation rules. Sitting in a corner, Si Chen analyzes the requirement for 5-person teams with at least one high rank member. Interrupting the chatter, the director clears his throat into the microphone, asking for everyone's attention. The old man in the suit announces that the ranks have been sent to their wristbands and tells them to form groups as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the teachers begin to distribute stacks of forms for the teams to fill out. Looking at the interface on his own wristband, the MC is faced with his updated classification low E rank. His friend with glasses beside him is startled by the result and states that there must be some mistake. The display confirms that both our hero and his 2 roommates are at the bottom of the worst possible classification. Confused, the young man questions his friend about the score, but the student prefers to remain silent. Around them, other students begin to whisper, remembering that the boy had gotten a C rank in the previous test. The malicious chatter concludes that his power core really did break, and now he's become dead weight. With a dark look at the display, the MC quickly realizes that no one will want to team up with him now. On the other side of the room, a bunch of sycophants celebrate the boy's misfortune, thinking he must be very regretful. The rich hair listens to the flattery with an expression of pure superiority. From afar, on the director's bench, the old Gong Xuan watches the student's confusion with satisfaction. In his thoughts, he judges his own nephew as a disappointment, who still needs to learn how to manipulate human nature. With a malicious expression, the director boasts of having set everything up so that the opponents can't even participate in the exam. The announcement to form teams generates immediate desperation and a generalized rush across the hall. A desperate crowd throws itself at the arrogant rich kid, begging for a spot on his team. The humiliation reaches the point where a female healer shouts that she would even accept being treated like a dog in exchange for protection. Annoyed by the commotion, the rich boy's lackey pushes the crowd away, announcing that they only have one more spot available. Half an hour after much confusion, the wristbands begin to glow, confirming the registration of the complete teams. Several groups celebrate the successful formation as they mentally prepare in the auditorium chairs. Over in the outcast's corner, the friend with glasses sighs in frustration because he tried everything and was rejected by everyone. The other roommate reports that they only managed to find 4 people and are at risk of being disqualified outright. Suspicious of the whole situation, the boy with glasses comments that it's bizarre for the MC to have gotten the worst score in the school. Maintaining a calm posture, Si Chen quickly deduces that the administration is purposefully boycotting their dorm. He knows very well that this graduation exam is the only chance for many there to prove their worth. As the difficulty increases with the number of members, the exam's dynamics require caution in choices. It's not enough to just fill the team, as the system balances the number of monsters to compensate for strength. Because of this, no one wants to risk carrying weak students and sinking their own final score. The clear result of the sabotage is that the 3 worst students in the school ended up concentrated in the same group. In the midst of the tension, a student from another group appears, calling the attention of the friend with glasses nearby. The meddler tries to recruit the boy, warning that he'll be in trouble if he keeps hanging out with that trash. Hearing the insults from afar, our hero reflects that if things continue like this, the 3 of them will be completely abandoned. Head down, the friend with glasses understands that their presence will only drag the team down and cause their disqualification. With a huge weight on his conscience, he ends up sincerely apologizing for the whole situation. But the MC turns to his colleagues and states with conviction that he will not abandon anyone from their dorm. Annoyed by the refusal, the meddler leaves, saying he just wanted to make up the numbers and that they don't know what's good for them. Not backing down, Si Chen firmly tells the guy not to underestimate the other students like that. Meanwhile, the event status screen keeps updating with the formation of the school's teams. Desperate, the friend with glasses says that almost everyone has finished forming their groups. He points to the screen and notes that there are practically no high-level students left available, with only 1 member left to complete the team. He laments that no one wants to join them at all. In silence, our hero stares at the floor with a serious expression as he absorbs the unfair situation. He soon connects the dots and deduces that the event's director is certainly part of the same rich family as the arrogant Gong Ting. Realizing the scheme, the young man understands that the old man falsified his rank just so no one would agree to team up. With that, the student wonders if the old man really thinks he is such a big threat to his rich nephew. Outraged by the abuse of power, he swears to himself that he will find a way to participate in this exam no matter what. Since the persecution is so blatant, the MC decides to act and immediately triggers his class change through the system. With the warrior class activated, an intense energy covers our hero's body, and he decides to stop being nice to that scum. He reflects that normal evaluations are not the only way for a student to prove their true power. At that moment, the boy's sudden movement catches the attention of the other students in the bleachers. Startled, his friend with glasses yells, asking what the heck he's thinking of doing. But the MC ignores the warning, remembering very well that awakened schools have a very special tradition. Descending the auditorium steps with an intimidating aura, he leaves the entire audience shocked and confused by his attitude. By official rules, any student can initiate an individual combat challenge to prove their mastery against another. Despite being a provocative move, this is definitely the fastest way to rub one's strength in everyone's face. Faced with such a sudden challenge, most normal people would surely refuse to avoid trouble. However, the young man knows perfectly well that the pride of the well-dressed Gong Ting would never let him back down from a fight. Sitting in his chair, the arrogant rich kid notices his opponent's approach with a look of total superiority. Our hero's plan is simple: just smash this rich kid's face in, and everyone will be begging for a spot on his team. Before he can issue the challenge, a female voice echoes from the door, asking if his team still needs people. Caught by surprise, the boy freezes in his tracks while the newcomer announces that she wants to participate in the school evaluation. Oozing confidence, the beautiful blonde enters the hall, revealing that she was already D rank in high school and would be a great addition. The unexpected appearance leaves the entire bleacher section with their jaws on the floor, with the crowd stunned, trying to understand their friendship. Completely in shock, the rich kid sweats as his lackey stammers, asking what craziness the girl is talking about. At the director's table, the old Gong Xuan is also greatly startled to see the girl ruining his perfect scheme. Ignoring the judgmental stares of everyone present, she continues down the stairs with the utmost tranquility. The chatter spreads, with students unable to believe that the vice president wants to mix with the worst group in the school. Furthermore, the crowd finds it very strange that an exchange student wants to join the local graduation event. Gossiping nonstop, the onlookers comment that her origin is a mystery, but she must be a genius from some famous kingdom. Sweating nervously, the director curses the meddler in his thoughts and decides to intervene quickly, calling her name. Trying to maintain an air of authority, the old man argues that the young woman is not technically qualified to enter the official exam. He pleads, saying she has never taken a rank test at the institution, and that approving her entry would be breaking the rules completely. Suddenly, the school's principal appears behind him, covered in a purple aura, giving the corrupt official a huge scare. Trembling, the man in the suit panics, not understanding what the university's top leader is doing there. The principal looks at the blonde and questions why a short-term exchange student would want to join in on this game. Watching from afar, Si Chen is quite confused, as the principal is from the warrior class and shouldn't know how to teleport. With a provocative tone, the girl replies that the evaluation only makes sense if it shows the true strength of everyone present. Focused on the pair, our hero activates his sharp perception to try and assess the power level of those two big shots in front of him. However, the system reports an error, and he realizes with a start that he is completely unable to read the data of either of them. Taking advantage of his boss's cue, the old man in the suit fervently agrees, stating that the school needs to maintain its rules. But the principal cuts off the sycophant and lectures the hall that the true objective of the university is to cultivate super-awakened individuals. He emphasizes that the graduation combat is a sacred tradition and a fundamental turning point in any student's life. Staring firmly at the corrupt official, the highest authority questions how the school would deal with the guilt if a student missed this chance. The old man freezes on the spot, realizing that the heavy-handed hint was a clear warning that his fraudulent activities have been discovered. He knows very well that his superior never cares about small details, and this whole charade clearly has a specific target. Looking apprehensively at the MC in the corner, the uncle tries to understand why on earth the big shot is protecting that boy. With no way to escape the crushing pressure, the man swallows hard and decides it's not worth confronting his boss over this. In his thoughts, he laments and mentally tells his nephew that his help behind the scenes will have to stop right there. Even so, he remains confident that the rich kid will win easily, as our hero's group supposedly consists only of trash. Disguising his panic with forced laughter, the director turns to his leader, agreeing that the fault was entirely his administration's. Hurriedly grabbing the microphone, he makes an official announcement, allowing incomplete teams or those without strong members to register. To try and come out on top and maintain his image, the liar finishes by declaring that the exam doors are always open to everyone. The system screen lights up green with a beep, officially confirming that the unlikely team's registration was a success. Excited by their victory against the corrupt system, the colleagues celebrate with relief and immediately name the MC as their official captain. On opposite sides of the crowded hall, the outcast boy and the well-dressed rich kid exchange an intense look charged with pure rivalry. With a slight smile, the principal watches the scene, eager to find out what level of dungeon the group of underdogs will face. Near the main screen, the evaluator clears his throat and announces that the team captains can now proceed to the challenge selection. A few seconds after the release, the friend with glasses pulls his own hair in pure despair upon seeing the crazy choice their captain made. The event interface warns that students will earn their precious credits by facing hordes of cruel monsters in the virtual environment. The display explains that the challenge level multiplies the points, and surviving an E rank guarantees the coveted maximum score of 100 points. Furthermore, the best player of all will receive a fortune in cash and a leadership position in the prestigious Imperial Guild. Chatting at the tables, the crowd concludes that only Gongting's elite team has the strength necessary to break the historical record. Suddenly, one of the supervisor's eyes widen in front of the monitor, completely shocked by the speed of the outcasts' team's choice. To everyone's madness, the MC's display glows brightly, showing that he confidently selected a D-ranked dungeon. Thinking it was all a terrible accident, his friend waves his arms in terror, asking if our hero has completely lost his mind. Not wanting to be outdone in power, the proud Gongting presses the green button on his system and confirms the same suicidal difficulty. In the upper seats, the school's big shot crosses his fingers with a satisfied look, predicting that this year will be the most fun of all. The group's insane decision soon catches the attention of a spectator in the bleachers, who finds the whole thing just a pathetic act. The rest of the audience scoffs relentlessly, concluding that the team only did it for fame, since they are going to lose anyway. One of the guests laughs out loud at the situation, guaranteeing that the group will fall apart before even trying to face the danger. Over in the outcast's corner, the friend with glasses sweats as he stares at the system screen, completely frozen with nervousness. Watching the MC in silence, he perceives an aura of pure determination emanating from the young man in an intimidating way. With that, the boy remembers the past and understands that he has no reason to doubt the one who has always been his support throughout school. With a determined look, the colleague finally presses the confirmation button and says he will follow our hero to the bitter end. Shortly after, the other companion also approves the choice, accepting that the mission's level doesn't matter if they are already at rock bottom. Gaining courage, the fourth member of the team shouts, catching the attention of all the colleagues nearby. Quite indignant, he questions how he was left for last when he is clearly the toughest member of the entire dorm. Without wasting time, the young man smashes the approval button, yelling that they are about to graduate and should go all out. The main system panel beeps, officially confirming the entry of all members into the most brutal level dungeon. Faced with the unexpected support, Si-chen turns back, facing his complete team with a serene expression. Sincerely, the MC apologizes for the trouble and confesses that he selected this absurd difficulty only to be the grand champion. Maintaining a serious posture, he acknowledges that he is now forcing his only friends to enter this suicidal evaluation with him. To the team's surprise, the young man suggests with a slight smile that they all focus on achieving the maximum score together. Confidently descending the bleachers, the leader decrees in his thoughts that the title of this year's best player is already his. The friend with glasses freezes in complete shock upon seeing the terrifying intensity in his companion's eyes as he passes by. On the other side of the room, his rival Gongting clenches his hands in hatred, determined to prove that he is the only strong student there. Near him, the spectator watches the rich kid, fascinated, noting that she had never seen such a charged expression on his face. The atmosphere in the hall grows heavy, with the two competitors positioned in opposite corners, openly declaring war. The difficulty control system continues to be closely monitored by the evaluating authorities. Watching everything, the director smiles with satisfaction and comments that today's youth are incredible and show no fear at all. Completely disagreeing with the attitude, the girl argues that choosing that level is pure delusion and that it would be impossible to pass alone. She points to the screen, explaining that the multiplier generates 150 points, but their lack of skill will cause a tragedy. The big shot agrees with the sensible reasoning, pointing out that there is just over a month until the start of the combat event. In the simulation room, other students train hard, firing magical elements at holograms of giant insects. The director assesses that the loser's team could never develop the necessary techniques to survive in such a short time. With 17 days until the exam, the grueling preparation routine begins on the running track while one student vomits nonstop. Completely worn out, the friend with glasses questions why the captain is pushing physical prep so hard while the rest of the school trains magic. Doing push-ups with weights on his back, Si-chen listens to his colleagues' complaints that running on the track won't prepare anyone for the exam. Focused on his own limit, the MC retorts that mastering spells in a fake simulator is absolutely useless in real life. He explains to the group that true fear paralyzes anyone when the battle against deadly monsters happens away from screens. The terrifying image of a roaring creature illustrates the warrior's warning that instinct will define who lives and who meets their end. Pulling his own body up on a pull-up bar, the leader emphasizes that they need to focus on physical resistance and reaction power. Sitting on a park bench, the young man continues his harsh lesson, lamenting that the institution's benefits are too mediocre. With a dark look, the young man points out the hidden truth that ordinary people don't have access to true evolution fields. Far away, the arrogant Gong Ting slices through creatures in a real dungeon, using the elite resources that the poorer can't afford. Our hero understands perfectly that these nobles train in the real world only to crush outsiders and maintain total control of the region. Overcoming danger with ease, the rich kid carries himself with all the arrogance of someone who never had to work hard for the best opportunities. For the dominant society, the great powers that normal workers spend their entire lives seeking are already given at birth. Outraged by the system's injustice, his companion furiously questions how a bunch of losers like them will ever reverse this humiliation. Not discouraged, the captain replies that the only shortcut to break this social wall head-on is by achieving a position in the Imperial Guild. The rest of the team listens to the truths in deep silence, feeling the gigantic weight of reality hit them all at once. Surrounded by a frightening energy in the shadows, the MC swears that this bloody ordeal will be his greatest chance to surpass the powerful. Looking firmly at his scared allies, the student promises to do absolutely everything he can to ensure the team's victory. With only 15 days left until the exam, the intense training progresses with the boy slicing through dozens of cruel beasts in the dark dimension. Finding the enemy's defensive flaw, the fighter leaps, spinning his sword and delivering a devastating electric blow to the target. The concentrated impact of the blade rips the flying monster in half in the blink of an eye, demonstrating the brutal growth of his strength. With 10 days left on the calendar, the entire group is already running on the school track with much more physical vigor than at the beginning. In advanced training, the leader proves his swift mastery by piercing and slicing luminous mystical creatures without any mercy. Trying to maintain his supremacy, the well-dressed kid delivers sequences of crushing blows to clear his own solo challenges. With 5 days remaining in the countdown, the boys fall to the grass, destroyed by pain, while Si-Chen continues to demand more. Merely 3 days before the great evaluation, the rich kid breathes heavily, his eyes glowing amidst the flames. 2 days before the final decision, our hero destroys the bosses of his session, and the screen announces that his assassin skills have leveled up. On the eve of the official exam, the warrior breathes heavily, sweaty, and covered in bloodstains, knowing that the real carnage begins now. The day of June 17, 2157, dawns with a floating drone wishing a warm good morning to the examinees. In the arena's locker room preparations, the student carefully adjusts his glove equipment, focused on the event's enormous tension. The renegade team walks through the technological warehouse with a victorious posture, listening to the robot ask them to check all their wristbands. Positioned side by side before a gigantic electric transfer portal, the crowd listens as the official declares the beginning of the end. Far from the confrontation zone, dozens of million-dollar cars approach the administration building, bringing the region's top authorities. The school's head bows humbly to flatter and greet the first important magnate to set foot on the premises. Dressed in expensive clothes and sunglasses, the businessman Gong Lin shakes the educator's hand and amicably apologizes for being late. Watching from the glass windows of the rooms, the female students in the building go wild over the mature charm of the Imperial Guild's creator. Right behind him, a luxurious white van pulls up smoothly, leaving the rest of the team speechless at the level of importance of the visitors. Security guards rush desperately to open the armored vehicle's rear door before the highest authority decides to move on his own. With relentless elegance, the vice president of the World Alliance steps onto the sidewalk, attracting the absolute respect of everyone around. Shock takes over the school staff, who panic at the mere thought of such a living legend attending a common test. One of the evaluators comments in shock that they have crossed paths with untouchable people, justifying why the courtyard is completely isolated. The billionaire's entourage heads towards the VIP box while onlookers comment that the Alliance is the most powerful force on the planet. Inside the tactical command cabin, the organizer informs that this year's test involves 104 students distributed among 26 classes. The digital screen reveals that 23 groups chickened out, choosing the worst score, while only 2 had the audacity to take on the terrible class. Handling the event's security, the Secretary General adjusts her glasses, frowning at the extremely foolish choices of the newbies. With a stern posture, the woman confronts the organizers, asking if they properly explained that dungeons of this type annihilate even professionals. Trembling under her frightening scolding, the sweaty coordinator tries to fix everything, swearing that everyone knew they would hardly get through unscathed. Inside a common cave, a student battling in an evaluation cuts a basic monster in half without much difficulty. The thing is, students struggle greatly against the bosses of these lower-level dungeons, feeling the weight of real danger. It's clear that the slightly higher-class areas already have guardians with overwhelming strength for newcomers. The challenge changes drastically when spider, like monsters with a frightening appearance, begin to surround a cornered team. Overcome by panic, a competitor cries on the floor, wondering how passing through that would be humanly possible. Just then, in the luxury observation room, the Secretary General firmly questions the security measures adopted in the deadly event. Without hesitation, the coordinator promptly replies that all students are the institution's most valuable resources. He guarantees that medical teams and experienced armed guards are on standby at each portal to prevent tragedies. Thus, any extreme threat results in an absolute rescue to save the young people from certain doom. On the monitor, you can see a desperate boy pressing the withdrawal button in tears, out of sheer terror of the giant spider. By doing so, the system pulls the cowards out of the carnage in the blink of an eye, ending their participation on the spot. Despite others' failures, the evaluator finds it fascinating that two teams had the courage to choose the higher difficulties. Excited by the situation, the director gives a smug smile, confessing a sadistic desire to see the limit of that group's endurance. Deep down, the educator is almost certain that those renegades will throw in the towel the moment they step into the snow. Meanwhile, in the high-risk frozen landscape, the entire team stares in astonishment at the dreadful shadow just ahead. Perched on the ruins, a terrifying ghost monkey watches its targets like a true predator thirsting for blood. Maintaining a serious posture, Si-Chen explains that these beasts attack in packs, using aerial dives that are very difficult to dodge. As proof of this, the opponents leap from the top of the dark structure, aiming directly for the group's heads. The creatures dive through the air with agile and relentless movements, ready to tear the intruder's flesh with their claws. With a quick warning, the MC draws his own blade, acting on maximum survival instinct. In a swift and calculated move, the leader sweeps the terrain with an electric cut while avoiding the enemy's certain pounce. The other combatants follow their companion's steps and manage to escape by a hair's breadth, rolling across the frozen surface. Kneeling on the hard ground, Xiang Zuo is shocked to realize he survived the devastating attack of a monster of that rank. However, a dull thud raises a heavy cloud of ice right behind them, marking an explosive clash. The plant mage is completely stunned, watching the destruction that is happening just a few steps away. In a matter of seconds, our hero is already on his feet, surrounded by 3 targets brutally annihilated in a single brilliant attack. Realizing the abyssal difference in strength, the captain dictates that the group's current strength could never handle the horde. With his aura sparking, the warrior advances alone against the threat and orders them to just focus on their own protection for now. Right behind the front line, the danger continues to surround the rest of the formation, who scream, seeking refuge. Skidding on the slippery snow, his ally Xiang Yu tries at all costs to escape another agile creature that passes by, barely missing. Analyzing everyone's mobility, the student notes that the bizarre training of the past month has improved the team's reflexes. But pride hits hard, and the young man grinds his teeth, frustrated at being so useless as to become baggage on his best friend's back. Well ahead of the defensive formation, the swordsman deals out swift blows, wrapped in powerful lightning. No matter the speed of the aerial advance, the fighter focuses his senses, taking down multiple enemies mid-leap. The slash of the energized weapon cuts through the beasts in the air without any mercy, illuminating the dark blizzard with yellow energy. Faced with the rampant slaughter, the ice conjurer assumes with amazement that his companion is second to no graduate. With clean cuts all around, the coldness of the MC's attacks is far from the common behavior of a mere student. With a relentless and lethal posture, his performance in combat easily resembles that of a battle-hardened veteran. As he watches the dark spectacle, the plant specialist tastes the bitter feeling of having been left behind, stagnant. Just then, a shouted warning informs them that another nasty beast has just approached stealthily, aiming for a blind spot. The monster descends like a killer jet, targeting the unprotected members of the rearguard with fury. The moment the claws almost reach the victim, the fighter Malong ignites his own fist in an extreme orange flash. The combatant lands a devastating flaming punch on the monster's furry face, while calling the attention of the other two. By taking the defensive lead, the fire user refuses the role of a crying extra who depends exclusively on the hero to live. Completely consumed by a motivational fury, the boy screams, declaring that the weight of passing the school exam belongs to them too. In agreement with the brave spirit, Xiang Yu concentrates a green magical aura in his hands in response to the threat. Without retreating a single step, the mage conjures thick roots from the ground to grab the flying enemy during its fall. The plant magic intertwines around the aggressive target, forming a strong cocoon that tries to violently immobilize its wings. But the beast's superior rank grants it absurd strength, breaking the forest spells as if they were just dry webs. Shaken by the easy destruction of his raw power, the conjurer perfectly understands the distance between him and his adversary. Quickly, a dense, bluish mist envelops the monkey and creates a frost barrier that locks its aggressive movements. Xiang Zhou keeps his palms projected and loudly announces that the creature is much slower, opening a window for a lethal counterattack. With the opening from the impeccable support, the Master of Vines conjures the natural magic, focusing on tying the monster with much more pressure. Thanks to perfect synchronization, the duo launches the freezing magic combo, uniting the dense wind with the blockade of rigid plants. With the creature completely rooted and immobile, the hot-headed Malong charges a small, scorching sun in his right fist. In an aggressive move, the student unleashes the incandescent blast of his element, firing it like a cannon at point-blank range. The impact crosses the snow, hitting the enemy dead on, causing a loud explosion of pure fire that clears the ice from the area. Suffering the extreme heat spike, the monstrous anomaly lets out a horrifying scream in the center of the merciless flames. However, the flaming attacker takes a tense step back upon noticing that the opponent's body is made of solid rock and is resisting bravely. With an uncontrolled burst of blind fury, the target completely breaks the scorched vines and leaps forward with murderous instinct. Trembling from the severe exhaustion of the frustrated imprisonment, the plant controller confesses in agony that his mana has run out. Beside him, his companion, focused on freezing, expels a dense air from his mouth, admitting he has exhausted his own mental capacity. Overcome by pure survival instinct, the impatient fighter curses the target and projects his hands upward, pulling on the remaining flame. With his eyes closed, overflowing with the will to win, the student screams at the top of his lungs, releasing his ultimate trump card ability. In a destructive celestial impact, he launches a compressed core of heat directly at the beast, generating a colossal mass detonation. Finally, the synthetic voice of the monitoring device confirms the complete elimination of the flying guardian before everyone. Fallen to the ground after draining the last drop of energy, the three friends celebrate in disbelief their victory against a lethal abomination. The Alliance's captain silently sheathes his equipment and approves of the remarkable resistance his companions showed until exhaustion. Celebrating in the snow melted by the explosion, the flame attacker excitedly points, drawing attention to the monstrous kill. Full of confidence and hidden vanity, the plant mage adjusts his clothes, assuring that wiping out the danger was as easy as a school walk. Happy with the group's autonomy, Chen lightly congratulates them on their impeccable performance, just before the screen informs them of their definitive victory. Watching everything on the exclusive backstage screens, the coordinator abruptly stands up, slamming the table, astonished by the camera feeds. The luminous panel displays the feat of a group with no real experience massacring superior monsters with pure teamwork. Nearby, in the silent vapy box, the world's big shots stare at the final result with a calculating demeanor, maintaining their firm analytical profile. Relaxed on the luxurious sofa in the center of the room, the billionaire executive quietly praises the spectacular genius of the young swordsman dominating the arena. On the screens in the monitoring room, Chen continues to draw a lot of attention. Observing the boy, a red-haired executive comments that he strongly reminds him of an old acquaintance. So the man in the suit memorizes the young man's name with great interest. Nearby, the big shot in dark sunglasses remains in absolute silence. But a sudden shock on the broadcast makes him turn his head abruptly. At that moment, an old man in a suit calls everyone's attention in the room, pointing to the big screen. The recording shows another team facing monsters in a rank D cave. A woman praises their coordination, comparing it to a professional team. Intrigued, the redhead agrees that the quality of this year's graduates is very good. Satisfied with the situation, the old man warns that the real battle is yet to begin. On the battlefield, giant poisonous mushrooms surround the other group of students. Without wasting time, a girl uses her weapon to play a melody of decomposition. Seizing the chance, the green mage joins his hands and orders the monsters to group up. The magic creates a stellar attraction that pulls all the creatures to a single point. With the targets in their sights, the rest of the group calls for their captain to finish the job. The swordsman lands a brutal flaming slash that causes a huge explosion on the site. Holding his weapon, Captain Gong Ting shows pure confidence in his strength. He scoffs, saying that dealing with the exam's monsters is way too easy. One of the henchmen agrees, laughing, assuming that having connections makes life easier. Confident in their title as champions, they immediately set off to take down the boss. Back on the snowy mountain, the MC advances, focused, through the freezing landscape. Walking with effort, the team can hardly believe they've reached the top of the cave. Just ahead, they find a huge, dead ice monkey on the ground. Xiang Zhou panics, thinking that giant beast is the final boss of the area. The disfigured and bloody face of the dead beast is spine-chilling, but the student completely freaks out, thinking the monster still wants to attack. Out of nowhere, the zombie gorilla brutally charges at the desperate team, but Chen is faster and lands an electric kick to the beast's face. The impact of the blow creates a shockwave that sweeps the snow around. With no chance to react, the giant target is thrown backward with full force. With absurd speed, the swordsman advances like a lightning bolt to finish the job. The support duo breaks into a cold sweat seeing their colleagues' ease in taking down threats. Standing before the carcass, the leader receives only a monkey skin as a reward. He finds it strange to gain so little experience and poor items from killing a lord. Suddenly, the boy is fascinated upon noticing something impressive in the rocks. Shangzu calls everyone over, running toward a giant frozen log. The team finds a huge stash of mana stones hidden by the beast. Celebrating wildly, they assume their lives are set after finding this treasure. However, Si Chen senses imminent danger and tells everyone to stop the celebration. Just then, a shining projectile cuts through the air at high speed, heading for the group. The three are caught by surprise and are completely blinded by the flash of the attack. The team leader tries to warn them about the approaching enemy spell. An ice bomb violently detonates, engulfing the treasure and the students. In the middle of the freezing explosion, the monitoring device falls into the snow, broken. The device's screen fizzles and emits a lost signal alert for the team. Happy with the others' misfortune, the old man scoffs, stating that trash only gets in others' way. Immediately, the redhead declares that the students' lives are a priority and calls for medical intervention. But the coordinator, with his back turned, asks them to give the boys a little more time. A bearded man agrees, noting that their vital signs are still normal. The man in the suit reinforces that the decision to give up must come from the students themselves. Out on the battlefield, Shangzu lets out a sneeze, shivering from the cold. With his legs trapped in ice, the mage is thankful for his natural resistance to this element. Out of nowhere, a macabre laugh echoes through the snowstorm, scaring the boy. A skeletal creature floats in the air, revealing itself to be the true lord of the area. The support remembers reading about the cruelty of that mage in the monster manual. Faced with the feared Bone King, he realizes that the previous bomb was just a trap. Running tensely, Si Chen understands that he can't face a rank C boss alone. The MC tries at all costs to get close to his trapped companion. However, a sharp ice spike emerges from the ground and pierces his leg clean through. Suffering a serious injury, the boy screams in pain as he tumbles into the snow. Watching the desperation from above, the crowned skull lets out frightening laughs. Bleeding on the ground, the leader receives a notification from the system asking if he wants to forfeit the exam. But Xiangzhou refuses defeat and prepares a spell to heal his injured friend. The mage fires his spell, betting everything on the swordsman's recovery. With great effort, the boy tries to keep the flow of healing magic active. Unfortunately, the ice blocks the power and the purification attempt fails miserably. Taking advantage of their weakness, the Bone King continues to mock the pathetic situation. Fallen and all beaten up, Si Chen hears the system's alerts about his high heart rate. Panting, the support questions if he should run away like he has his whole life when faced with danger. He remembers how he was always treated like trash and humiliated at school by others. But the memories of the tough training alongside his true friends speak louder. Together, they finally gain the strength necessary to change their own destiny. Overflowing with pure determination, the mage swears he won't surrender so easily. Unleashing all his accumulated power, he fires a pure magic spell toward the leader. The student screams at the top of his lungs, keeping the ability active against all odds. With the attack underway, the freezing energy engulfs the skeleton lord in a continuous blast. Keeping up the pressure, the mage screams, releasing every last drop of mana in his body. He throws himself into the air with all his might, betting his own life to keep the destructive spell active. But the skull's eyes glow intensely under the ice, cracking the magic with sheer pressure. In an instant, the beast shatters the attack completely and throws the boy far away with the shock. Relentlessly, the bone monster emerges from the snow dust without a single scratch. Powerless, the student collapses on the mountain, landing right next to his injured companion. Panning, Xianzhu laments that in the end, the swordsman had to break the control on his own. Already on his feet, Si Chen reassures his friend, saying he helped a lot, and that the bleeding has already stopped. Worried, the support warns that the enemy is a rank C lord and they can't let him freeze them again. The MC just faces the challenge head-on, overflowing with pure confidence in his eyes. Suddenly, a colossal ice bomb appears, falling from the sky, leaving the mage completely perplexed. From above, the Skeleton King prepares total destruction with pure malice against the boys. Desperate, Xiao Zuo screams that the monster copied the giant spell and that it's impossible to dodge. Immediately after, the massive projectile hits the ground, causing a brutal detonation on the mountain. The impact generates a gigantic white flash that engulfs the entire battle area. Certain of victory, the creature floats in the air, letting out shrill cackles. Suddenly, the Lord stops its celebration upon noticing something strange in the midst of the fog. Among the icy smoke, a mysterious silhouette emerges, standing and intact. Si Chen reveals he has activated his ice body, making him immune to the extreme cold of the environment. The flying skull's jaw drops, completely incredulous at the target's survival. Shocked, Xianzhu questions where that power came from, since his friend was a lightning assassin. Breaking into a cold sweat, the mage's eyes widen, asking if our hero has a dual class. With a freezing aura on his face, the MC silently confirms the absurd suspicion. He apologizes for misjudging the situation and putting the group in mortal danger. Clenching his fist with great anger, the warrior promises that the game ends now. Drawing a purple energy blade, he swears he will finish the monster immediately. The system initiates a luminous charge for the boy's true class change. Dark sparks cover the swordsman's hand, indicating that he will no longer hold back. With the complete transformation into an abyssal demon, the dark sword exudes devastating power. Xiang Zhou is completely bewildered, frozen in a state of pure shock. The boy knows that the chance of someone awakening with 2 classes is 1 in 10 million. It is an absurdly rare phenomenon that almost no one witnesses in their lifetime. Anyone with this talent becomes the target of fierce competition among all the world's guilds. Holding his head in his hands, the mage panics upon noticing the absurd situation in front of him. At that, the MC charges his electric aura, explaining that this is his first class. Immediately after, he displays his bluish ice magic as his second ability. When the purple sword dominates the scene, the support freaks out upon seeing an impossible third class. In addition to the absurd number, all of our heroes' aptitudes have maximum strength and vigor. In the blink of an eye, the warrior shoots up from the ground, creating a massive energy boom. Like a true demon, he cuts through the air in a gigantic and brutal vertical attack. Huddled on the ground, his ally feels that the terrifying pressure from before has vanished. Caught by surprise, the Skeleton King just screams as the blade passes through its skull. The force of the blow is so immense that the beast's aura simply disappears into the air. Landing gently on the ground, our hero annihilates the supreme boss, splitting its carcass in half. With victory secured, the system congratulates the swordsman with a huge advanced level screen. Emotional, the mage hugs his friend's leg, whimpering about how he obliterated the rank C Lord all by himself. However, a chill runs down the support's spine as he remembers that the other 2 colleagues are still frozen. Thrown on the mountain, the pair remains trapped in blocks of ice, unable to get out. In response, the MC activates his dark ability to devour monstrous souls. Projecting his hand forward, he pulls the residual energy left by the defeated boss. The monster's icy spirit is violently absorbed directly into the boy. Feeling the new power flow, our hero clenches his fist, with cold blasts escaping. The panel confirms that he has acquired the Ice Lich King magic class with extremely high attributes. Calmly, the young man assimilates the first class he has obtained outside the dream world. He is relieved to know that the camera broke in the attack, keeping his secret completely safe. Lying in the snow, the monitoring device continues to spark without transmitting anything. Analyzing the rewards, the system announces that an extra enhancement star has been granted. The warrior's eyes widen in surprise at having gained such a valuable bonus out of nowhere. Far away in the Cave of Dark Vines, another team fights desperately against a giant carnivorous plant. Trying to hold the line, the team's shield is under pressure and warns that it won't last much longer. Behind him, the marksman fires spells in frustration because the target is too tough to take damage. Furious, the botanical beast displays its sharp teeth, threatening to swallow them all at once. With a single whip-like strike, the monster smashes the ground and throws the students far away. Collapsing on the rocky floor, the group despairs, not knowing how to deal with such strength. Sweating with fear, the defender declares that their only hope of survival is Captain Gong Ting. In the background, the supports transfer their magical attributes to the leader with full force. Absorbing everything, the arrogant swordsman opens his glowing eyes, saying that's enough. In an explosive burst, the young man charges forward like a flaming rocket toward the boss. Cutting through the air, he passes the plant's defensive roots with incredible speed. With fury in his eyes, the rich kid screams, ordering the disgusting creature to split in half. The impact of the blade generates a massive pillar of fire that instantly carbonizes the beast. Amazed by the demonstration, the henchmen flatter the president, calling him an untouchable legend. Sheathing his weapon, the captain scoffs upon seeing that they cleared the area in record time without difficulty. Confident that he has secured the absolute first place, he orders everyone to return to check their final score. In the waiting room, one of the evaluators comments that even the weakest cave would take at least an hour to be cleared. At that, a spiky, haired student bursts into laughter, guaranteeing that anyone who left early is surely trash that gave up. He imagines the losers crying and begging for their lives while fleeing from the terrifying monsters of the place. One of the female students agrees, trembling with fear as she remembers that the creatures inside were too horrifying. But the big shot in the suit hears footsteps and turns his head toward the entrance of the hall. Realizing who has just arrived, he gives a mocking smile. Observing the MC's team wrapped in blankets, the man in the suit asserts that they chickened out early as predicted. Si Chen just stares at the guy with a cold expression as his name is called in a very ironic tone. The big guy continues the provocation, asking if he couldn't finish the exam after acting so tough before. But the mockery is interrupted when the old man with glasses tells the student to back off immediately. The leader straightens his posture and announces that the Alliance's vice president has arrived, calling his team to greet the boss. Suddenly, applause echoes through the hallway, accompanied by many excited compliments. An elegant man with red hair approaches, clapping and stating that they witnessed a spectacular performance today. The big shot walks with great authority through the central hall of the facility. All the students and teachers watch in silence as the vice president advances through the place. Shocked, the guild master freezes upon seeing the man at the top of world power approaching them. Believing the compliment was for his student, the old man extends his hand with a broad smile for a handshake. But the big shot walks right past them without paying the rich kid's team any attention. The redhead stops right in front of the MC and praises the boy, stating that he is simply remarkable. Completely ignored, the master swallows hard upon hearing that the boy cleared the rank D cave in a mere 21 minutes. The vice president extols that even a professional team would struggle achieve that absurd time. Hearing this, the spiky-haired student completely freaks out and screams in disbelief that the group considered trash won the exam. Our hero's friends laugh at the big guy's shocked face upon learning of their own record. Sai Chen remains calm and recognizes the man as Carl Cavendish, the second most powerful figure in the World Alliance. Satisfied with what he sees, the redhead confirms the boy's name and comments that the trip here was worth it after all. Soon after, he turns his head and mentions that the young master of the Gong family also had a great performance. Very proud, the old man with glasses thanks him for the recognition, saying the vice president is very kind. But the red-haired big shot just gives a cold, piercing look that makes the guild master tense up. Smiling again, the boss announces that it's getting late and decides to leave the place. Walking to the exit, he congratulates the director on hitting the jackpot by finding two such rare prodigies. The director clears his throat, calling for attention, and announces that he will now reveal the final results of the two teams. As there was a tie with a perfect score, he declares that everyone is qualified to join the Empire Guild. The MC's partners celebrate wildly, screaming that they've won a one-way ticket to success. With a slight smile, the old man says that the awards are not over yet. He decrees that the two captains will get management positions and will share the prize of 1 million coins. But Si Chen mentally calculates that he still needs another 500,000 to pay off an urgent debt. Bothered by the split, the rival captain steps forward, stating that there can only be one champion. Overflowing with arrogance, the rich kid demands a one-on-one combat against the MC to break the tie. The sudden demand catches the director and the guild master himself by surprise. Nervous, the old man tries to calm things down, arguing that a tie is already perfect and that the boy wouldn't agree to fight. At that, our hero's voice echoes through the corridor, imposing a very clear condition. Si Chen looks at his rival firmly and asks if he gets the full 1 million prize if he wins the duel. The student's absurd greed makes the director spit to the side in complete disbelief. Full of himself, the rich captain agrees to the bet on the spot and guarantees that the newbie can take it all if he manages to defeat him. Watching everything from afar, the vice president finds the commotion extremely interesting. In the hall, the two captains face each other from a distance as they decide how the final battle will be. The rich kid takes the initiative in the conversation and asks how they are going to solve this problem. The scene cuts to a luxurious room where a green-haired loan shark confesses he didn't expect a perfect record. Satisfied with the boy's fame in the news, the rich man suggests forgiving the debt and treating the money as an investment. Sitting comfortably on the sofa, the MC just holds his teacup in silence. With a sharp gaze, he immediately refuses the offer and guarantees that a debt must always be paid. In the middle of the fancy room, the boy says he only came there today to give two important notices. The first is about the payment deadline, for which he asks for an extra week, because he received less money than expected. He explains that he scheduled the tie-breaker fight for next week inside a wild cave outside the school. The loan shark's eyes widen in complete shock at the madness of two students entering such a dangerous place. Ignoring the danger, our hero tells him not to worry, as the remaining prize is guaranteed as soon as he wins. To compensate for the delay, the swordsman promises to hand over all the monster materials as interest. The creditor adjusts his glasses, impressed by the kid's courage, who only cares about money instead of fearing his demise. Placing the cup on the table, the boy says there is a second, much bigger reason for this visit. With a heavy and serious expression, Si Chen reveals that he needs to resolve a much more important matter now. Curious about the boy's tone of voice, the loan shark pays close attention to what's coming. Our hero continues his explanation, maintaining his usual cold posture during the chat. Hearing the unusual request, the man in the suit freezes and his eyes widen in pure shock. Despite the other's astonishment, the student finishes giving the instructions without hesitation. The creditor gets up from his armchair in absolute silence, processing the weight of the information he just received. Far away, the sunny afternoon illuminates the gates of the city's elementary school. A girl in a red skirt stretches her body, celebrating the end of final exams. She happily grabs her phone because summer vacation has finally begun. But the student stops walking as an important detail comes to her mind. Looking at her lock screen with her brother's photo, she remembers that today is his graduation evaluation day. A memory from 4 years ago shows Si Chen opening his academy admission letter, laughing. His little sister's eyes sparkle as she asks if he will become an incredible hunter, just like their parents. Holding the girl's hands, the young man promises to join a giant guild to make a lot of money and give her a good life. With a determined glint in his eyes, the boy swears he will use this strength to uncover the truth about their parents' disappearance. Full of pride, the little girl gives a huge smile, guaranteeing that her brother will become the strongest hunter of all. The girl, Xiao Yun, sighs in frustration at her study desk, lamenting that she hasn't awakened her powers yet. At that, Si Chen reassures his younger sister, guaranteeing that it's okay to be a normal person in society. He explains that they just need to keep working hard to ensure a good and worry-free life for both of them. Looking at their photo on her phone, the girl remembers that her brother tried very hard at the academy and ended up being the only one who failed. Upset, she concludes that he must feel lonely, seeing everyone else gaining powers while pretending he doesn't care about his own failure. Suddenly, some classmates run up to her in the hallway, calling the young woman's name. Very excited, one of her friends asks if the girl has heard about the two great geniuses who graduated from the university. The gossip spreads that the two prodigies led teams with perfect scores, and even received praise from the Alliance's vice president. In the middle of the lively conversation, the student notes that Xiao Yun's brother also studies at this same elite place. At that moment, a preppy boy with pink hair passes by the group, wishing the MC a good afternoon. Full of ulterior motives, he says he has reserved a fancy room on the rooftop and asks if she will be free at night. But the young woman simply ignores the lame invitation while her friend is shocked to see the rich guy striking up a conversation with her. Not wanting to chat, the girl quickens her pace and leaves the rich kid talking all by himself in the middle of the hallway. The man in the suit is completely baffled and questions why she is in such a hurry to leave school so suddenly. As she runs, the student suffers, thinking that her brother's colleagues became success stories while he couldn't even awaken a class. With a heavy heart, the girl decides to hurry home and prepare a huge feast to try and cheer the young man up. Shortly after, the scene cuts to the exterior of the simple building, where the two siblings live in a rental. At a dinner table full of good food, Si Chen is impressed by the incredible care put into the surprise meal. Without wasting time, he already grabs the pot, asking how his sister found the time to cook all that so quickly. Already filling his plate with stew, the boy greatly praises the wonderful smell of the dinner and attacks the food, starving. In the background, the television is on, announcing that the evening news will cover the conclusion of the Academy's combat evaluations. Our hero continues to eat very calmly while the report mentions the distinguished presence of the vice president during the event. Observing the young man's calmness, the young woman believes he is pretending to be strong to hide the sadness of having failed the exam. But the journalist on the screen changes the mood by confirming the very rare result of two great champions emerging in the current generation. The story shows the red-haired big shot lavishing praise on the two prodigies in front of the entire national press. Suddenly, the MC's name is mentioned in the report as the student responsible for finishing the test with the absolute maximum score. Hearing this, the girl freezes in place and slowly turns her head to the television, unable to believe what she just heard. Completely paralyzed, she puts the pieces together and realizes that the genius in the news is her own brother, who is eating dinner right beside her. Far, far away, a man in dress shoes steps into a pool of blood next to a whip left on the dirty floor. The injured man in the suit tells the tied-up victim that he has prepared a perfect stage and even invited a fine audience to watch the bizarre show. Outraged by the situation, the villain with glasses states that his ally managed to ruin the entire plan during the school evaluation. The injured rich kid lowers his head, listening to his boss throw it in his face that he lost the exam ridiculously to some random newbie. Maintaining an intimidating posture, the man says he has prepared everything for the tie-breaker combat and strips the spoiled boy of all authority. He completes the dressing down by guaranteeing that he will solve the problem personally since the young man was a complete failure in the task. With pure malice in his eyes, the mobster decrees that first place will belong to the Gong family, no matter the cost. Cutting to the dark dimension, Si Chen analyzes the attack pattern of the 4 purple lions surrounding his body on the battlefield. Observing the enemy's tactics, the boy notices that the Pride's king stays far back, just watching the confrontation unfold from the sidelines. He deduces that the main monster is too cowardly for close quarters combat and prefers to send the lionesses to do the dirty work. At that, one of the beasts charges brutally, covered in pure electricity, to rip open the MC's chest in a frontal attack. Our hero strikes the creature, confirming that the dungeon boss's abilities are extremely overpowered. As soon as he tries to exploit a gap in the enemy's defense, the beast simply vanishes into thin air, escaping the fatal sword blow. Turning his head, the hunter sees the creature reappearing in a safe teleport right next to the other retreated monsters. The young man concludes that the beasts reposition very quickly on the map, but always insist on maintaining the same annoying defensive formation. Despite changing his strategy constantly, he recognizes the problem of not finding an opening to hit the lord of that floor. However, the system announces that the Thunder Assassin class has leveled up and released new attribute points after so much training. Evaluating the floating screens, the hunter understands that frequently using the same class greatly increases its combat proficiency. Even with his speed greatly multiplied, he faces the magical beast, knowing that taking down the monster will still be very difficult. The scene cuts to a fancy restaurant where a blonde spy discusses the newbie's ridiculous strength gain in such a short time. She displays the MC's updated file, pointing out that the young man's battle statistics have simply skyrocketed to level 17. Sitting calmly at the table, the Alliance's vice president savors an exotic dish and congratulates the employee on her excellent work. Maintaining her usual serious expression, the woman says she still has another very delicate matter to inform the Supreme Chief about. The subordinate reveals she has located a very dangerous individual who also tried to contact the guild in recent weeks. Very focused on the mission, the agent identified as Pippo awaits new orders while analyzing the complete scenario of the case. She hands a thick folder to the table, guaranteeing that these are the best reports ever compiled by the investigation department. The confidential document highlights that the mysterious target spent the entire last year without leaving a single traceable trail behind. Enjoying the luxurious dinner, the big shot dips the raw meat in the sauce, remembering that everything happened on the night of the school evaluation. Relaxed on the chick's sofa, the redhead completely ignores the tension of the conversation, just to praise the impeccable quality of the imported meat. After chewing happily, he changes the focus of the conversation and asks about the progress on the main mission assigned to the young woman. Back at the humble apartment, the girl cries with so much happiness, having the wonderful certainty that her brother has reached the top of the academy. Not knowing how to react to the family's absurd success, the girl just stares at the young man who continues to devour his food, oblivious to the fame. Very emotional from the live news, the sister wipes her face, trying to process the glorious victory of the boy everyone called trash. With her eyes red from crying, she focuses completely on our hero, admiring all the silent dedication he had to get there. As the television buzzes with information, a huge lightning bolt rips through the dark sky, illuminating the humble neighborhood where they live. In a state of shock, the student can't believe that the guy beating up monsters on the screen is her own blood. Completely euphoric, the girl tries to process the madness of her brother getting a perfect score and even earning praise from the global big shot. On the official broadcast, the vice president finishes his motivational interview, surrounded by the intense flashes of local reporters. Taking up all the spotlight, the journalist extols the MC's name, declaring him the biggest surprise of the year. The rich man in the suit finishes his speech, asking the nation to continue striving to discover new combat monsters, just like the newcomer. The studio anchor takes over and continues to hammer home the perfect result achieved by the school's underestimated team. Unable to hold back her shout any longer, the MC points her finger at the young man, demanding to know if he really is the golden boy from the report. Chewing his dinner with enviable peace, Si Chen just nods and asks, as if it's the most natural thing in the world, what's the big deal? In another setting, a heavy boot smashes the floor, destroying the wood and marking the mortal hatred of someone advancing through the dark place. A new report, tossed aside, points to the high probability that the monitored targets have already discovered the trap set by the agency. Contemplating the sinister sky of the evil tower, one of the henchmen assesses that the enemy's absurd strength is something that breaks all natural rules. The masked assassin walks through a sea of corpses, confirming that he spent weeks clearing the lower floors, just to gain more power. The MC checks his updated attributes and sees that he is now at level 17. Walking through the empty scenery, he realizes he has completely adapted to the increased gravity of that floor. Analyzing his own file, the boy notes that his speed attribute has reached the level of a ranked assassin. Just ahead, the purple lionesses continue to surround the territory, ready to pounce at any moment. Ferociously, the beasts charge with full force at the hunter. Without retreating, Si Chen concentrates pure electricity in his body and prepares for a swift charge. With a focused gaze, he studies the dangerous movements of the enemies. Staring at the lord of that pack, the young man is baffled as to what exactly the class of that bizarre monster is. At that, one of the creatures leaps toward him, attacking from the flank. Quickly, our hero prepares a lightning-charged blow to intercept the animal. The electric charge cuts through the air, aiming directly at the beast's head. But at the last second, the creature dodges, escaping the fatal damage once again. Frustrated, the young man realizes that whenever he tries to finish off a lioness, she simply disappears from the map. Looking far off, he sees the beasts reappearing right next to the cowardly king who just watches the fight. As soon as he stops attacking, the monsters charge again, serving only as bait to tire the hunter out. To not lose his rhythm, the MC elevates his electrical energy to the maximum limit. At high speed, he tries to slice the enemies with swift blows across the entire arena. Watching from above, the boy understands that the pack maintains a completely flawless defensive formation. The combat turns into a grueling cycle where he attacks nonstop, and the creatures simply disappear before taking any kind of lethal damage, reappearing perfectly intact in a safe location near their master. Then, the beasts leap at the hunter again, trying to catch him completely off guard. With that, our hero continues to fend off the pounces in an infinite loop that only drains his energy. Surrounded by the agile beasts, the young man begins to feel the weight of this war of pure endurance. Panting and quite annoyed, he stares at the pack leader watching everything from afar. Seeing the Lion King's calm posture, Si Chen figures out that the monster is just messing with him. But a flash of genius suddenly changes our hero's thinking. Dodging another pounce, he asks himself why on earth he's trying to go head with speed. Immediately, the system glows on the screen, confirming the user's class change in the middle of the battle. With his body covered in ice, he decides he will no longer play the beast's game of chase. Very confidently, the young man states that using area of effect spells is the perfect answer to deal with a cowardly pack. The transformation completes, revealing the imposing class of the frigid bone skeleton king. The freezing power takes over the place, completely changing the tense mood of the fight. With crystals forming around him, he warns that the enemies will regret refusing a direct confrontation, and he guarantees that he will use all his destructive long-range power to shatter the entire pack. The attribute sheet updates, showing great advantages for the boy's elemental manipulation. Without wasting time, our hero conjures a gigantic pillar of ice that violently rips through the ground. The freezing wave advances across the terrain like a deadly tsunami, aiming directly at the creatures. The absurd impact generates a brutal explosion right in the escape path of one of the lionesses. Observing the destruction, the hunter comments that mages dominate the entire battlefield if they have free space. To not let the king rest, he summons a rain of spikes flying at the boss's head. The projectiles fall from the sky like sharp meteors, covering a large part of the empty scenery. Trying to survive, the lionesses use their magical teleport to escape the aerial massacre. But as soon as they reappear, huge ice spikes sprout from the ground, punishing their predictable movements. Extending his hand to conjure more power, the MC corners the beasts in his lethal kill zone. The feline lord is greatly startled upon being hit directly by the extreme cold of the blow. Taking advantage of the opening, the boy launches a colossal ice bomb right in the middle of the pack. With a merciless look, he warns that there's no safe corner left for those pests to hide. The gigantic manifestation of the Skeleton King appears behind our hero, letting out a very frightening roar. A phenomenal explosion sweeps through the arena, destroying absolutely everything in its path. The Lion King ends up completely immobilized in a prison of sharp crystals. Immediately, the young man switches to the Stellar Warrior class and charges through the air like a missile. With blood in his eyes, he decrees that the dragged-out fight on this first floor of the Dark Tower has finally reached its definitive conclusion. Si Chen plummets from the sky, delivering a cataclysmic triple attack in overwhelming mode with maximum power. The shock smashes the magical beast against the ground, shattering its crystal defense instantly. With the job well done, the frightening aura that covered the young man's body begins to slowly fade. The wind blows hard, carrying away the last snowflakes and revealing the completely devastated scenery. The MC walks calmly through the terrain, leaving the monster's purple carcass behind. The system floats, confirming the absolute victory, and our hero reaches the level 24 mark. The bright screen indicates that the fallen lord's corpse is fully ready to be devoured. The hunter activates the bizarre ability and begins to suck all the essence from the dead beast. Holding the energy in his hand, he demands that the creature's soul reveal what its true class was. After all, the spiritual fragment vibrates intensely, trying to resist the boy's absorption process. With no patience at all, our hero squeezes the essence, forcing the collection of the stubborn reward. The file reveals that the monster was a stellar tamer capable of forcing contracts and teleporting its lackeys. Quite surprised, the young man comments that he had never seen a summoning class of this type. This perfectly explains why the coward kept fleeing from combat, using others as a shield, and that the lioness's rapid teleportation was just a support ability controlled by the king. Reading the descriptions on the screen, he understands that taming a creature depends purely on mental strength and intimidation. Analyzing the advantages, Si Chen concludes that the mechanic of enslaving beasts and summoning them from afar is excellent. Storing the contract information, he notices that the cosmic landscape begins to undergo a drastic change. The dark scenery disappears, giving way to a scorching desert that represents the true face of the floor. Looking at the gigantic skeletons buried in the sand, the boy is shocked by the desolation of the empty place. Curious to understand the past of that enormous cemetery, the hunter continues walking alone through the dunes. Just then, a shining portal appears in the middle of the sand, confirming that the door to the second floor has finally opened. However, a pair of bright purple eyes watches the situation, lurking in the darkness. Si Chen immediately perceives the presence and turns his head back, searching for its origin. Staring at a huge buried skeleton, the hunter hears a muffled growl coming from within. Inside the giant ribcage, a small and cute YN cub cowers in fear while trying to look fierce. Completely surprised, the MC doesn't understand how one last little lion was left there. With his hand sparking with electricity, the young man deduces that this is the last survivor of the pack and approaches the carcass. Upon closer inspection, our hero understands that the cub didn't disappear with the king, because it wasn't one of the contracted beasts. Seeing the magical chains binding the creature, the boy wonders if the feline lord had locked the little thing in that place. Without a second thought, he charges forward and fires a devastating electric slash toward the ground. The little lion's eyes widen in complete terror as the blow rips through the air toward it. But the energy only hits the stellar chains that bound the cub, shattering them all at once. Freed from the brutal spell, the small animal plummets in face, plants in the sand quite clumsily. With a calm expression, the hunter says he is returning the freedom that was stolen from the creature. Turning his back to walk toward the portal, he mutters that this dark desert was the animal's true home. In a melancholic tone, the MC confesses that he knows perfectly well the pain of seeing all his loved ones die and his home be destroyed. The cub listens to the words attentively and stands there, watching the human walk away. As he walks firmly toward the second floor, Si-chen says that the pain is unbearable, but the little one must stay alive. Suddenly, the system emits a sound alert right next to our hero's ear. The holographic screen opens, showing that the creature's recruitment rate has reached 100% and has unlocked new passive abilities. The young man turns back, quite confused by the unexpected notification flashing in front of him. In the sand, the little lion waits as the system confirms that the cub is begging to form a partnership contract. Looking down at the creature, the hunter asks if it really wants to travel alongside him. Very excited by the proposal, the small animal gives a sharp bark, confirming its desire. Looking at the portal, the young man warns that from now on, he will dominate every floor of that tower, and the monsters will get increasingly brutal. Worried about the creature's fragility, he warns that the cub could get seriously injured or even meet its end on this dangerous journey. Without showing a hint of fear, the little lion roars with all its determination, accepting all the risks. With his right eye glowing an intense purple, our hero declares his consent to seal the partnership. A magical star appears in the creature's eye, confirming that the contract has been successfully established. At that, the system's attributes update immediately, revealing the new advantages of the class focused on controlling stellar beasts. Happy with his new companion, the boy summons the flying cub to continue this risky adventure together. Passing through the luminous portal, the MC asks the creature to focus only on protecting itself during the fights on that floor. Shortly after he emerges, passing through the dimensional rift into a landscape completely covered in flames. The absurd heat of the place hits the young man at once, and he starts sweating profusely, feeling the pressure of the environment. The place reveals itself as a frightening volcanic canyon filled with scorching magma falling down the walls. Suffering from the infernal heat, Si-chen complains that the temperature is so extreme it feels like his body will melt. Hidden in his master's jacket, the little lion pokes its head out, observing the volcanic smoke without much understanding. Walking along the edge of a lava abyss, our hero reflects on the type of bizarre monster that will appear in this inferno. Before he could finish his thought, a red blur crosses the space, ripping open the boy's chest in a fatal and instantaneous blow. Shocked by the violence, the hunter's eye widens as blood splatters through the air, with no time to react. With that, the MC wakes up suddenly in his own bed, panting after suffering a painful demise inside the tower's scenario. Still startled, he laments being annihilated so quickly without even being able to see the enemy that delivered the lethal blow. With a very tense expression, the young man questions what kind of monstrous entity inhabits that fiery abyss. His dark thoughts are interrupted by a familiar voice, calling the boy to have breakfast in the living room. The scene cuts to a well-laid table showing a steaming bowl of noodles and several tasty side dishes. Sitting in the chair, the young man is amazed by the enormous amount of food and praises the hearty breakfast. Xiaoyun hastily chews a piece of toast and already leaves orders for her brother to wash all the dirty dishes and hang the clothes next. As the girl hurriedly puts on her sneakers, the boy asks why she is in such a rush if summer vacation had already started. Confused, our hero questions his sister, reminding her that she didn't need to get a job as he would take care of all the house money. Opening the door with great joy, the student states that she also needs to make an effort, and that spending the summer at home would be too boring. She waves goodbye excitedly and reinforces the warning about the household chores before disappearing down the building's hallway. The hunter looks at the pile of wet dishes left in the sink, awaiting the day's cleaning. A short time later, the young man obeys his younger sister's order and hangs the shirts on the clothesline near the sunlit balcony. Observing the view, he reflects with great affection on the strong and independent personality his sister has always shown. The young man stares at their old photograph on the shelf, and thinks about how the girl faces any difficulty despite being just a child. Reading some notes on the table, our hero admits that he often feels like he's the one receiving motherly care from the girl. But the dark reality weighs on Si Chen's mind, reminding him that he will soon need to hunt the Demon King and distance himself from family life. The cheerful image of Xiaoyun appears in his thoughts, confirming that her well-being is the only true concern he has in life. Seeking some way to ensure the girl's safety during his absence, the MC suddenly comes up with a brilliant plan. With a simple mental command, a small purple vortex appears in the air, dropping the magical little lion right in the middle of the living room. Completely amazed by the result, the boy realizes that the unusual idea worked perfectly. Watching the creature wagging its tail on the floor, he is thrilled to have successfully summoned a monster from the spiritual tower directly into the real world. Agitated by the new environment, the cub jumps on the sofa and knocks over all the fruit from the table, making a huge mess all over the house. Checking the creature's ability screen, the hunter decides to make the animal his younger sister's personal bodyguard. He remembers that the girl has always been passionate about pets and trusts that the presence of a cute cub will be a total success. However, a loud noise of metal falling on the kitchen floor interrupts the master's mental planning. With a look of pure exhaustion, the young man hears the shattering of glass and understands the magnitude of the problem. Watching the little lion chewing on the dishes he was supposed to wash, our hero tries to convince himself that his sister will still love the creature. Far away, the city's peace is broken in a dark alley where a random victim is pinned to the wall by a sinister force. An elderly and heavily bloodied mercenary drags himself along the ground, desperately begging for the attacker not to come closer. Terrified, the fallen man stares at the monstrous silhouette shrouded in red shadows and asks what on earth that creature is. Without saying a word, the cruel assassin charges with full force and rips through the old man's body with an unforgivable bloody blow. With his face bathed in his own blood, the mercenary loses his strength as his end comes very mercilessly. The last spark of life disappears from the victim's wide-eyed gaze as he tries to process the level of that brutal monster. With the prey vanquished, the macabre entity activates its dark system and begins to devour all the soul essence left in the filthy alley. Changing scenes, Xiaoyun walks calmly down the street at dusk after leaving work. Carrying some heavy bags, the girl complains of tiredness from being on her feet working all day. She follows her normal route, passing through a more deserted alley. The sound of the student's footsteps echoes through the alley as she walks on, unconcerned. Suddenly, the girl stops walking upon noticing a strange presence just ahead. Completely scared, she backs away a little as a voice announces that the girl has finally arrived. A huge bouquet of red roses appears, blocking the passage. The owner of the flowers is the arrogant Jin Duoxin, who brags about having waited for the girl for a long time. He demands attention, saying she ran away from school last time, but warns that he has again reserved the entire floor of a fancy building for them. Very suspicious, the young woman questions how that boy found out her home address. At that, the young man scoffs, stating that his father is the director of the city's #1 hospital, so getting that information was very easy. Out of patience, the student cuts the mood, saying they don't belong to the same world, and tells the rich kid to stop looking for her. Ignoring the warning, he grabs the girl's wrist with great force. Annoyed by the rejection, the bully complains about the trouble it took to reserve the place, and says her refusal makes him lose face in front of his friends. But the girl doesn't back down, questioning why she should care about his reputation, and calling the guy creepy for stalking her all the way there. With his ego wounded, Jin Duoxin freaks out and asks who the girl thinks she is. Raising his voice, he demands gratitude for chasing after her and makes a direct threat. Taking advantage of the proximity, Xiaoyun lands a brutal headbutt right in the middle of the harasser's face. With the impact, the rich kid falls to the ground, bleeding, while the girl tells him to get his head checked at his own father's hospital. Still angry, she warns the guy to never bother her again and walks away, grumbling that her day has been ruined. Back at home, the mood changes completely when the little magical lion appears, glowing, in the living room. The student is instantly enchanted by the creature's cuteness. Hugging the animal with great affection, she asks her brother where he got such an adorable pet. Sitting on the sofa, Si Chen introduces the mascot as Leo and says the girl will be its owner from now on, leaving her ecstatic. Petting the feline, she comments that it's strange for such a small cub to already have a large mane. Focused on his phone, the MC ignores the question and just tells his sister to register the animal officially the next day. Observing their interaction, the young man is relieved to see that his younger sister really liked her new protector. With that, he turns his attention back to the device's screen with great seriousness. Our hero's gaze shows confidence as he reads the recent notification. The guild's system confirms the approval of an important form, ensuring that the young man's plan proceeds without problems. Putting his phone away, Si Chen focuses completely on his next objective. He declares that the time has come to win the tie, Breaker match scheduled for 6 days from now. Time moves quickly, revealing a dense forest on the outskirts of the city. At the location, a guild examiner asks for everyone's attention to go over the details of the final test. Pointing to a giant green portal, the man explains that the combat will take place inside that wild D-level dungeon. Standing side by side, our hero and his rival Gong Ting await the final instructions about the simultaneous evaluation. The official warns that the interior of the rift is unknown and much more dangerous than school exams, so 3 guild members will act as supervisors. The judges will accompany the 2 prodigies to ensure their safety and score each one's performance along the way. The final score that will determine the winner will depend entirely on the evaluation of this trio of specialists. Nearby, a man in a suit watches everything and sinisterly hopes that the judges will do their job without leaving a trace. Interrupting the tension, a relaxed vice president on the sofa questions why the man in the suit is still there, since his commitments ended 2 days ago. Quite presumptuously, the leader retorts, asking what could be more fun than watching that event up close. The 2 candidates stare at each other with great rivalry before entering the rift. Excited about the competition, the vice president confesses that it's been years since he last witnessed a clash between true geniuses. Raising his right hand, the examiner officially begins the graduation exam. Tension fills the air, marking the definitive combat of that class. Focused on the challenge, Si Chen and Gong Ting prepare for the brutal ordeal. With permission granted, the 2 advance decisively toward the guild's magical light. The MC walks imposingly, being swallowed by the rift's energy. The boys pass through the portal, closely followed by the armed evaluation team. The internal environment reveals itself as a dark forest completely illuminated by a greenish hue. One of the female judges complains about the number of dead trees in the area while offering a drink to her colleagues, who refuse because the cameras are on. Without warning, our hero stops walking when a red light starts flashing on his chest. Completely surprised by the sudden notification, the young man freezes in place, not understanding. The system interface warns of the presence of a high-risk creature, this being the first time that Core has issued such a grave warning.